play fake. Hawkins going deep. Has Simmons wide open inside the 10. Right side Mosier. He's in. Touchdown, Colorado State.
Colorado State comes into Boulder and pulls the upset. The final score, Rams 23, Buffalo 17.
That's right, paint those smiles on. A rivalry that's been around since 1893, and now the 2010 version back where it belongs. The Mile High City, Denver, Colorado at Invesco Field. Greetings, everybody. Along with Todd Christensen, I'm James Bates. So glad to have you with us today at high noon. And Todd, what a great way to get year 5 started, not just as a network, but as a broadcast team. And if we're excited up here, imagine how excited those kids are about to buckle up those chin straps and play their big rivals right out the giddy-up. First game of the season.
It's exciting for us for a lot of reasons. And, of course, it's exciting for the state of Colorado simply because, as you point out, they get a rivalry game early on. I know that in some cases the coach is a little bit frustrated because they'd like to have that first game to work out some kinks. No kinks there, and Ralphie as he heads across the field. But this is going to be a very highly emotional game. 93 degrees. It's going to be even hotter than that on the field.
Ralphie 5 for the first time ever takes the field. There were a lot of first-timers in this rivalry for CU last year. They fell to Colorado State. It was a 3-0 start for Colorado State, but then both teams finishing at 3-9.
Well, this is a situation where obviously this is going to be a big win for either team. Of course, Coach Hawkins wants to start the season off right as he's on the hot seat. And, of course, you mentioned Fairchild. He struggled in the second half of last season. They want very much to eliminate that 9-game losing streak.
Oh, and very much wanting some revenge, the folks from CU. It was a loss at Folsom Field for the first time in 23 years to the Colorado State Rams. Here comes Cam the Ram and the new-look unis of Steve Fairchild's Colorado State guys. Kickoff when we return to Mile High right after this. College Football on the Mountain is brought to you by Dodge. Live life to the fullest. Dodge, grab life. By Jeep, the most award-winning brand of 4x4s ever. Check out the entire lineup at Jeep.com. By Xfinity, only from Comcast. And by New York Life Insurance Company. With 165 years of financial strength, New York Life Insurance Company can help keep your family safe and secure. Learn more at NewYorkLife.com. College Football on the Mountain is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's has your college tailgating plans covered. For a limited time, you can pick up a 50-piece Chicken McNuggets for only $9.99. I'm loving it. By Domino's. Domino's wants everyone to try their inspired pizza. Get 2 medium, 2 topping pizzas for just $5.99 each. And by your Colorado Toyota dealer. Toyota, moving forward. Ready to go in Invesco. First, let's check into the third member of our crew, Roger Bailey.
And guys, for the 82nd time, these two teams are going to meet in the Rocky Mountain Showdown. There are a lot of tangibles going to go into this game, none bigger than starting quarterback for both sides. For CU, Tyler Hansen has earned his spot in the driver's seat to lead this CU Buffalo team. He's got a great ability to make his way outside of the pocket and cause havoc for that secondary defense for CSU. On CSU's side, they're starting a true freshman, a gunslinger, bringing something to a running offense. It's going to be an exciting time. There's 30,000, 40,000 people in the stadium right now, and they are very loud, very anxious to get the 2010 season underway.
That's right, Roger, and Pete Thomas. Biggest crowd to date for him, about 5,000 a couple years ago, back home at Qualcomm Stadium in San Diego. Experience of a lifetime. Eric Goodman, the senior from right down the road, Cherry Creek High School, to get this 2010 Rocky Mountain Showdown underway. John Mosier from the 18 takes a lick at the 20 and gets a couple more, and that's where the true freshman, Pete Thomas, and the Colorado State Rams will start their first drive of this rivalry. Has never played in front of more than 5,000 people. And the 6'5" gunslinger buckles them up for the first time in a game situation for Colorado State. Straight to the air, and Todd, so much for getting his feet wet with a little run play. They go 4 wides. Our starting lineups this time last year, the mug shots of the offensive linemen gave you the most experienced line in the nation. Not the case this year. Godowski is the strongest one up front and started quite a bit early. Raymond Carter moved all the other running backs aside. Coaches are high on the junior transfer from UCLA. So to the ground go the Rams, and not much there at all. A gain of maybe 2. Defensively, some birthdays finally for the guys up front. Marquez Herod is the best of the bunch. Sapili, Major, and Alice. How about Tyler Alice unseating B.J. Beatty? He'll play some, but not in the starting lineup. Perkins, Polk, Brown, and Smith are big, physical, and athletic. Probably the strength of this football team. And Pete Thomas is looking right down the barrel of that loaded secondary for the Buffs. Wide receiver screen underneath, snuffed out, 3 and out. And it's a big start for the Buff defense.
One of the things there is that you want to keep the confidence of Pete Thomas. You've got a 3rd and long situation. I think there was a situation where Fairchild was ultra conservative, made a completion, hoped to get a little bit of a blitz, did not. They only had 4 people on the rush, and as a result, first punt of the game for Kondadiakos.
Great special teams cover for Colorado State. A 56-yard punt, and down there in a hurry, the backup safety, Jared McKay.
That's one of the best things for Colorado State coming into this, James. They were absolutely atrocious in net punt. But as you mentioned, the 56, 57-yard punt, able to drop him in his tracks. Bad field position for the Buffs in their first possession, when I'm sure they anticipated much better than starting on just the 14.
Unlike Pete Thomas, this will be the 10th start as a Buffalo for the junior. Another SoCal product, Tyler Hansen. Down in the Ram corner of the end zone and making some noise and helping their team out perhaps. 5-yard penalty.
Red ball, full start. Offense, number 78. A 5-yard penalty, still first down.
James, one of the people we're going to talk about a lot today is that left tackle, Nate Solder, 6'9", 320 pounds of him. A potential first-round pick. Big man with great feet, but he got a little distracted there by the noise, and as a result, first penalty of the game. One of the things Colorado wants to avoid, they average 9 penalties a game in 09. They need to keep that number down if they're going to be successful in 2010.
So a 1st and 15 for Big Nate and the Buff offense after the penalty. And to the air, another wide receiver screen, and getting the edge this time for Colorado is the transfer Tony Clemens. A lot of speed, and new speed at that, at the wide receiver position. Starting lineups are brought to you by Toyota, your Colorado Toyota dealer, moving forward. Well, there's Solder, who plays the left tackle spot. Ryan Miller and Ethan Atkins good ones as well. Keenan Stevens will start at center. We'll see heavy dose of both Brian Lockridge and Rodney Stewart. And right on cue to the ground. There's our first look at the special junior, 5'6", 175-pound Rodney Stewart.
But if you're Colorado State, you have to like that play. Williams, who last year was plagued with injuries, number 51, you can see him in the middle of your screen, just did a tremendous job of filling the hole. Now they come up, instead of saying 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3, they come up 3rd and 6.
Great protection, and Scotty McKnight, Mr. Reliable, is now one catch shy of a Colorado record. More importantly, in this ball game, he's got the first down of the game.
And Scotty McKnight is beefing because he had Michael Sisson in coverage, and Michael Sisson can do a lot of very good things, but you're asking an awful lot of that linebacker to cover McKnight man for man down the middle of the field. Hanson with plenty of time. There's the seam route to McKnight, who cuts back against the grain, complains about getting held, but still, he's not going to complain about that big gain out to the 39-yard line.
Not much push up front for Colorado State. Hanson. And breaking tackles over there, Kyle Cefalo. Back-to-back big passing plays, and here's that defensive line. Guy Miller had a huge game, getting his first sack against Cody Hawkins against CU last year. Welcome back, Ricky Brewer, after a year suspension. Maybe the best linebacking crew in the Mountain West Conference. Elijah Blue Smith played corner last year, a natural safety, back where he belongs, the junior from Crenshaw High School. There's Guy Miller, his coming out party at Folsom Field last year. Second flag of the game. Guy Miller pleading his case, maybe coming against CSU.
Illegal formation. Too many men in the backfield. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat. 2nd down.
One of the things here is that Colorado seems to be a little discombobulated offensively. We get a chance to see the keys to the game, a balancing act. Colorado needs to be both run and pass. They threw a little bit too much last year, hence the reason for 3 and 9. And they need to pick on the new kid. They did that early on, putting some pressure on Thomas. Colorado State needs to get physical to establish the running game that was so successful for them in 09 when they rushed for over 150 yards. And 3rd down's the charm. They've got to get off the field defensively. They can't give up too many 3rd down conversions as they did in the 09 season.
Rams had Rodney Stewart stuffed for a loss, and he squirts out and gets a gainer of about 5. Those keys to the game were brought to you by Ram, award-winning Ram trucks, plus a new heavy-duty, make it one of the most powerful lineups in Ram history.
You know, James, in a lot of cases when we talk about that 3rd down conversion situation, it's not always just about the single 3rd down. There's a good example. Stewart's able to squirt forward for about 6 or 7 yards. It's a very makeable 3rd down. They need to come up and force Colorado into 3rd and 7s and 3rd and 8s. 3
yards to go. They'll try through the air. And a little bit behind the transfer from USC, Trayvon Patterson. So a little bit of a break as Patterson was wide open for the Ram defense.
Well, that's all on Hanson. He had plenty of time. He had to measure himself. It was an easy throw, and you can see his reaction. He's disappointed. All he had to do was throw the ball a little bit farther inside, and he's frustrated with himself because that was a gimme.
Here's the redshirt freshman from East High School right here in Denver, Zach Grossnickel. And Momo Thomas. Here comes Gerard from his own 12. Takes advantage of a couple big Ram blocks. Across the 30, across the 35. And good field position for the 2nd time out for Pete Thomas and the Rams. Hey, the Rocky Mountain Showdown, we're just getting started.
Certainly Steve Fairchild has to like this field position given the circumstances. One of the downsides of this rugby kick, as you can see, it's in the air for barely 2 seconds. And so if the first guy misses, you can see all those white shirts that are going to be just a little bit late. Great cut to the outside to establish some position. But when you do that rugby kick, you do not get much in the way of hang time. And as a result, Colorado State takes advantage, getting it all the way out to the 35-yard line.
An injury to Parker Orms on special teams. That's a big one, as he's the nickel back. And here's T.J. Borky, a high school quarterback and a stud in high school at that, back at Lake Highland Prep in Orlando, Florida. Takes the snap here on the second series for the Rams. Today's HD coverage is brought to you by Ultimate Electronics, the ultimate in low prices. We've got it all, Todd. The dactyl cam, you already taken advantage of it there on special teams with the coverage. And back in comes Pete Thomas after a 3-yard pickup for the wide receiver slash quarterback Borky. That's Pites, the tight end, in motion. Will line up as a wing up top. 4-man rush in the swing pass. Our first look at Raymond Carter. That's one thing, Todd, that Fairchild loves, his ability to catch it and scoot out the backfield.
Well, one of the things that we talked about early on with regards to Thomas, I visited with Marius about it in the studio, is that you want to get him a little bit of confidence. Now those are a couple of easy throws. He's had 3 easy completions, and the one time that he got knocked down, to get a little rhythm, get a little feel, catch it and throw. They don't want him to be sitting like a dead duck in the pocket. But now 3rd and 2.5, it'll be interesting, the decision making here.
Marquise Law goes in motion, split backs, flank. Pete, he'll stay in. Blitz picked up, and a great job defensively as Byron Steele caught it and had a little bit of space. But there to snuff him out in a hurry, Michael Sapilli.
And Sapilli does a great job because it is going to be short of the first down. Remember, this is a big wide receiver now that you have in Steele, and I'm really surprised here. Colorado State, for all intents and purposes, looks like they're going to go for it as they bring in Borky on 4th and about 2 lengths of the football.
But Borky is back in the gun. Oh, and he's upended. Big stop by Colorado.
Anthony Perkins is the man that gets him when he goes airborne. Once you leave your feet, there's no place to go. You don't have a foundation. Take a look as he goes over the top. Now he's in the air. And Perkins does a great job of undermining him, just dropping him there on the 44-yard line. Look at the penetration. See, he goes up in the air. Perkins is able to drop him. That's just an outstanding play in a submarine. Go ahead.
John Major does a great job of breaking, but you know how it is, Todd. Down on the goal line, you've got to tackle him high, so Perkins there to clean him up. If it weren't for the 1-2 punch, it might have been a fresh set of downs for the Rams. Instead, it's a fresh set and in great field position for Tyler Hansen. Play action pass. Had a little bit of trouble, and now some room to run. A 6-yard gain, bodies flying, but no flags after the play.
You know, it's interesting, Michael Sisson, arguably the best player on the defense for Colorado State, does a great job, even though he gets blocked. Look at him 360 and come up and force Hansen to the outside. But one of the reasons that Hansen won the job is right there, James, because of his legs. He's a little bit better runner than Hawkins, and as a result, instead of coming up 2nd and 15, they come up 2nd and 5.
Also a stronger arm, and it's a right arm, a right-handed thrower. But everything else that Tyler Hansen does, riding, etc., done with the left hand. Bad snap. Flag is down. Nobody on the same page. And there's another flag late defending D'Angelo Wilkinson. This ball well over the head of the intended receiver, Tony Clemens. So a lot to clean up here.
It looked like a little disjointed on the snap, but then again, it could have been offside. I thought the ball was uncatchable.
There are fouls by both teams during the play. Too many men in the backfield. Offense. Pass interference. Defense, number 2. Those penalties offset. Replay, 2nd down.
That's interesting that we talked about at the top of the show, the difficulties that Colorado has had in penalties. Of course, those offset. That would have been their third penalty of the game already. Colorado caught a break there. I'm not sure that Wilkinson was doing anything wrong. Having said that, deja vu, 2nd and 5.
And we've seen Hansen try to hook up with targets like Trayvon Patterson and Tony Clemens, 2 big transfers. He's excited to have around. Here's your 2nd down and 5. Again, decent protection. Asks for a little help from Rodney Stewart. Gets it and gets a 1st down and then some. Down across the 25-yard line goes Tyler Hansen for another Buff 1st down.
James, one of the things that we asked Larry Kerr, the defensive coordinator for Colorado State, was this: are you going to have to spy Hansen because of his running ability? He said he didn't think so. His guys are in his lane. This is what drives you crazy with regards to a running quarterback. Everybody's covered. The pass rushers are in the lane, but an athlete like this makes one move, gets to the outside, and gets a 1st down. A quarterback like this just drives a defense nuts.
The 1st and 10 line today brought to you by Remax, the sign you want, the agent you need. 12-yard pickup on the ground for Hansen. Here comes the blitz. They don't get to him, and a flag comes out very late. It looked like Micah Rakpo, Brian's little brother, got in there late.
Well, I guess
1st down.
You know, this is the guy that everybody is excited about. Arakpo comes off the edge, comes with great speed. Decide for yourself this a little bit late, despite the. That's not a good call. That's not a good call. There's a point in time, you know what, James, we're going to do this throughout the season. Can you hit somebody or not? I get it. I know it looked like he came up under his chin, but he didn't. He hit him in the chest.
Nowhere near the headgear, and what you need to worry about long-term for your freshman playmaker is it doesn't slow him down a step.
Great point. Take away his aggressiveness.
It is a 1st down inside the red zone. To the ground, Rodney Stewart. Alex Williams from his middle linebacker spot.
But you know
the angle.
Interesting, the guy that really made the play on the outside once again is Sisson. You talk about a guy you're seeing yourself, wait a minute, let's run at him. He's 5'11", 208. Come on, we can pound on him. But he doesn't give up the outside. He forces the blockers. They have to cut back inside. You say Williams makes the play with a negligible gain. But Sisson's the guy that forced it in. Both of those statistics right there, tackles and sacks, tops for the Rams in 2009.
So it's Sisson walked up on the edge, bottom of your screen. He'll rush, but is picked up. They go to the corner. And stretching out there, but unable to pull it in, the intended receiver, Luke Walters, the backup tight end.
And Ricky Brewer shows his athleticism. It's an out-and-up move by the tight end who's going to look like he's going a little flat, and then he cuts up. Brewer does a tremendous job of staying right with him because you can see right there the protection is outstanding. Ball's a little bit long, but that's excellent coverage on the part of Brewer.
That replay and all of our replays today brought to you by Xfinity, only from Comcast. So 1 of 2 on 3rd down on the first drive for Hansen and the Buffs. And here's a 3rd down and long. Make it longer as back in his stance and offsides, the right tackle.
Dead ball. False start. Offense, number 59.
David
5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
David Bakhtari is the guilty party. You can discuss whether or not the defensive movement is the issue, but then again, if you're the right tackle, you have to sit still. You know, that's all on him. That's all on him, and it's surprising because they're at the Colorado end. So the noise certainly isn't a factor.
He and the tight end will switch sides here now on this 3rd and 15. The rush was on, picked up. Pass is caught, and nobody's going to touch him. It's a touchdown, CU. Trayvon Patterson. His first catch as a Buff goes 18 yards to the house. Welcome to town, Trayvon. Extra point is good, so a guy taking advantage of the NCAA's no penalty ruling to transfer from USC with a 2-year bowl ban. He was a Trojan last year. He's a Buffalo this year, and the folks from Boulder sure are glad.
Trayvon Patterson is accepting congratulations, and rightly so, but he got an awful lot of help from his friends. Most notably the tight end Ryan Dean. Watch Ryan Dean pick Vincent off, the man who is in coverage with Patterson. You're going to see it at the top of your screen. Watch to the left. He picks him off. He's able to come underneath. He can't catch up, and the result is he's able to cut completely across the field in for the initial touchdown of the game.
Trayvon 4 credits shy of graduation. He'll pick up those credits at CU, but go back and earn his degree at USC. So Eric Goodman to kick it away. It's Greenwood and Mosier waiting at their own goal line. It'll be Mosier, and he'll bring it from 2 yards deep in his end zone. This drive summary brought to you by the most award-winning brand of 4x4s ever, Jeep. Check out the entire lineup at Jeep.com.
And the biggest play of that drive, James, strangely enough, wasn't necessarily a run or a pass, but it had to be Mike Arakpo being a little bit aggressive, and I think the official in this case being a little bit overprotective where the quarterback was concerned. That was certainly the biggest play of the drive.
And the officials perhaps overly aggressive, not just on the Arakpo call, but the Momo Thomas interference call that wiped out an illegal procedure by the offense as well. Nonetheless, chance to answer for the Rams. There's Raymond Carter, and Steve Fairchild told us yesterday if Raymond Carter gets the right blocks up front, he'll score. Not the right blocks there, because there were 2 buffs in his face as soon as he got the handoff, led by Sapili.
Well, every time that we talk to an offensive coordinator, they want to have somebody that can get you easy money, is the phrase that they use. A guy that can take you the distance. In a lot of cases, the running backs around this particular league are guys that can get you a 20 or 40, but they can't go the distance. They believe that this 215, 220-pounder who's a 4.4 speed can do it, can take it to the house.
They go to Liggett. The former walk-on gets a couple, but it'll be another 3rd down and long for the Ram offense.
One of the things that's happening here is that Colorado, coming into this game, when we asked defensive coordinator Ron Collins, I said, hey, is this one of those deals where you put 8 in the box and make the kid beat you? And he said, well, yeah, that is, and that's what's happening right now. They've got 8 in the box. Their 2 safeties are back. They're going to give them that sort of thing all day long if they keep coming up 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7.
And they keep throwing it underneath. You almost got to let the freshman air it out a little bit here. But another thing Fairchild told us, it's almost not fair to get short gain, and put them in a 3rd and long. 4 of 5 for Thomas, but all dinks and dunks thus far. And they've got to call a timeout. Confusion on the field for Thomas and the Rams. 4:34 left in the first quarter. Buffalo strike first. We've got your flashback, and we've got your jeans. The folks at Since Jeans bring us our Rocky Mountain Showdown flashback. Not going too far back. How about just 2009 at Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado? Last year, where CSU crept into town. We'll get that for you right away. But what a big win for Colorado State in year 2 for Steve Fairchild to go into enemy territory. First time in 23 years, the Rams got a win there in Boulder. Again underneath, this one's dropped. Liggett had it and had a step on a defender.
Well, even if he catches the ball, he's not going to get the first down, and now Colorado State has to count on Contadiakos to get the kind of punt that he did the first time. Remember, that was a 56-yarder. You can see he's parallel to the line of scrimmage, only about 2 yards downfield. Even if he catches that ball, it's still going to be a 4th down.
So once again, it's Pete Kondodiakis. And it's Trayvon Patterson who scored the touchdown. Waiting on this one, barely got it off. And And here comes Trayvon. Look at Trayvon. Patterson screwed up across midfield. Outstanding field position. One more time for the Buffs. A 43-yard punt, but a 22-yard return. Here's your flashback, brought to you by Cinch Jeans. We've got your jeans. And we've also got John Mosier, big number 7, came bruising into Boulder in the big rivalry game last year. He ran for one, he caught one, and it was all Rams in the first half. A 20-3 lead for CSU. Guy Miller got his first sack on Cody Hawkins. The Buffs came charging back, but not enough in the tank, as it was the upset for CSU. Here's Tyler Hansen, sets up shop and throws it behind his intended target. That's Ryan Dean, the tight end.
You know, Hansen seems to be just a little bit out of sorts in terms of his ability to throw the ball downfield. A couple of throws now have been just a little bit off, as we see the series history dating all the way back to 1893.
Mentioned last year it was in Boulder, 2004, 2005. This big game was played about 33 miles to the northwest, and it'll be right here in Invesco through 2019. Brian Lockridge is in the ball game, spread wide, and pass is complete to Will Jefferson. Momo Thomas there on the coverage.
Again, another short game, and this replaces a little bit of the running game that Colorado normally might wish to establish. I'm genuinely surprised here at Colorado. I know that Colorado State, you know, was a lot more physical last year, but they struggled defensively, giving up nearly 160 yards per game in rushing. I'm surprised that Colorado hasn't run the ball more, James.
Larry Kerr, Ram defensive coordinator, needs a big play out of his guys now. 3rd down and 5. The freshman, this time no flags. Mike Arakpo drops Hansen for a big loss.
Well, Mike Arakpo is paying dividends early on as a true freshman. Of course, those of you that follow college football remember his brother, the outstanding All-American there at Texas. And James, you talked about the need to make a big play. That's exactly what they did. After the 22-yard punt return, they had a short field and a great opportunity. Colorado State rises to the occasion, and their bane in 09 turns out to be a blessing today, at least on this series, 3 and out.
And guess what, playmaker? You get to turn around and play special teams. They need the athleticism of Arakpo. It'll be number 1 on the sack. And it's number 5, Momo Thomas, there with the fair catch. There's your Dactyl Cam. Today's aerial coverage provided by the folks at Dactyl Cam, a unique flying camera system based right here in Denver. Visit Dactyl Cam's website, dactylcam.com, and find them on Facebook. You're enjoying the Dactyl Cam today, aren't you, Todd?
I am indeed. I wish I could take this home with me. I'm just, you know, special teams coverage, everything else.
I'd love to see a Dactyl Cam of you making your morning oatmeal. He's going for the berries.
It's a green drink, by the way.
Full head of steam. And there's a nice gainer on 1st down for the Rams and Raymond Carter. Let's get it down to a guy who used to throw the ball around up at Coors Field, former Colorado Rockies pitcher Roger Bailey.
Well, I used to back up third a lot too, James, so it kind of goes hand in hand. But unfortunately, for number 30, Parker Orms from Wheat Ridge, Colorado, special teams player for CU, unfortunately twisted his knee on the punt return, unavailable to finish out this game. He's come out on crutches. He goes back for an x-ray. X-rays were negative. He will have another x-ray tomorrow to see what damage was done on that punt return.
Thanks, Roger. Young guy, but a big part of this defense. They'll miss him. And right there, picking on the secondary a little bit. There's your big play from Pete Thomas, and he seems to be jawing a little bit with the defensive lineman of Colorado, Marquise Law.
And in truth, that 16-yard throw, James, is going to give him that much more confidence as opposed to the others combined. Hangs in the pocket, has a guy by his feet, delivers the ball on the money to his big receiver for a 16-yard gain out to the 35-yard line.
First down of the ball game for Colorado State. Ponga will stay in as the fullback, and on different pages, but making something out of nothing, using the wheels after he missed the handoff is Pete Thomas.
Well, here's the issue with Thomas. You know, Thomas evidently came back and he looks the wrong direction, but such a great job is done by the offensive line. You can see downfield the linebackers are blocked, and the Thomas is able to make some hay out of that. Now, of course, he's got to learn how to slide, and Steve Fairchild can't like the fact that his young phenom is going to take hits like that, but he's got to like the 9.5-yard gain.
So 2nd down and 1, a chance for a guy in Fairchild that likes to go with the big play in this situation. And here's the screen. Wow.
That's
nice play defensively, exactly there. Again to submarine Sapili. Otherwise, it may have been 15 or 20 yards.
And James Sapili was blocked. He was on the ground. Take a look at the right of your screen. You're going to see number 10, excuse me, to the left of your screen. You're going to see number 10 get blocked and be on the ground. He's going to be able to bounce up. Look at that. He rolls over and gets up and gets in on the tackle. Great athletic play by Sapili.
John Major there as well. Great linebacking crew for both teams. Ball on the ground. Thomas falls on it. And living to play another down. It'll be 2nd down and long.
Not the way you want to end the first quarter, especially when you have some momentum going like that. But again, this is what Steve Fairchild mentioned to us, is that these are some of the growing pains you have with a true freshman.
Seven on the board for Colorado after 1 quarter. It was all Rams last year in Boulder. The Buffs strike first, though, today.
Pete Thomas ended the first quarter on a somewhat ignominious note as he dropped the ball, setting up a 2nd and about 16 or 17. But other than that, he was starting to get a little bit of confidence. And I think that a lot of Colorado State fans are genuinely surprised here as you see the totals and numbers. Somewhat innocuous statistic at this point. The reality is that I really thought that Colorado State was going to ride Carter and start to run the ball effectively. Remember, last year Mason had over 100 yards in this game, but that's not what they've been doing. They've been giving Thomas the opportunity to throw the ball more than I thought was warranted, but the game is still early.
There's the blitz with 4 wides. It's a little screen pass to the tight end, Pites, and he picks up almost all he needed. Needed 15, gets 14. But a nice play drawn up there as we went from the first to second quarters by the Rams.
Left of your screen. He just bumps his man and comes off, and it's really a one-man screen, the tackle in front of him. Inevitably, when you have a tight end that's not a pass catcher, he's not going to draw a lot of attention, maybe one guy. And if you can get the one guy out front to block him out of the way, they can do a very nice job and pick up a big gain, and that's exactly what they did now with a 3rd and very short. I like Pikes. Yes, I do.
Because he reminds you of yourself.
No. 6'5", 260, maybe not.
That's his 9th straight game, of course, dating back to last year with a catch. Bam! Going the wrong way. Raymond Carter again. Penetration up front came from Travis Sandersfield, the backup safety. Alice there as well.
This might be the inexperience of Carter. You know what, James? You get a situation, you see a white shirt. You've got 3rd down and 2 footballs. You've got to go north and south. You can't cut to the outside like that because people are going to get you. And as a result, instead of going for it on 4th down, they're going to ask Conadiakos to be a position punter.
Colorado State now 0 for 4 on 3rd down. Remember, they went for the 4th down try, 0 for 1 there. Here's Trayvon Patterson. Calls for the fair catch, sky high ball. And it will be Buffalo football at their own 17 when we come back to Mile High Stadium here at Invesco Field. College Football on the Mountain is brought to you by DactylCam, a unique flying camera system based right here in Denver. Visit DactylCam's website at dactylcam.com or find them on Facebook. And today's Live at the Stadium HD facilities are brought to you by Live Online TV, your national source for higher definition events. The southwest corner, Colorado Buffalo goal. The northeast, all green and gold with the Colorado State Rams. The Buffs on top right now. And to the ground. And a couple hard-fought yards behind the big left tackle, Nate Solder, the preseason Playboy All-American.
One of the advantages you have, take a look at number 78 at 6'9", 315 pounds. It's not just about pass blocking. Look at that, just pushing downfield. Of course, he gets a little help from his friend early on, but that's a good 4 yards downfield. Solder's got a definite chance to play on Sunday.
Nice cut in the backfield by Rodney Stewart, and he's up past the sticks for a first down. So Dave Platty and Zach Gilbert, both the SIDs for these two programs, they do such a good job. Platty puts out these notes on guys, your best Christmas gift you ever got. Nate Solder, the best Christmas gift he ever got, a meat freezer. Kind of fitting. Look at that big guy. A meat freezer.
What surprised me, though, is that he said that he was actually under 10% body fat. Can you believe that for a 305, 315 pounder?
Came in as a tight end at 245. Again, Stewart tries to scoot on first down. Not a bad pickup of 4 yards. Ricky Brewer there on the stop.
And a good time for Colorado to try to establish a running game deep in their own territory, starting at the 14. Now they're out 20 yards. And that offensive line is just doing its job. You know, James, on a day like this, which is going to be in the low 90s, which means it's going to be triple digits on the field, I think the running game is a big deal to establish. You want to wear out that front seven.
Tell that to Steve Fairchild, because that's what he sets out hot weather, cold weather to do every time, and the Rams haven't been able to do that. 7th carry of the game for Rodney Stewart, and he has another first down. Look at the offensive line for Colorado get off the spot and push this Ram defensive front.
Well, it's not just Solder this time. It's Adkins and Stevens, the walk-on center, who do a tremendous job pushing their people off. Look at the cut. When you only have to make the one step, and you only get when you get touched 6 yards downfield is the first time you get touched. That says something about your offensive line and how effective they're being.
That sets up a new 1st and 10 line, brought to you by Remax, the sign you want, the agent you need. Again to the ground. And again, a big chunk of yardage. This is exactly what was going on at Folsom Field last year for the other team. It was a power run game, and it had the defense of Colorado on their heels, and they couldn't do anything right. Now it sets up a perfect opportunity to throw the ball on a play-action pass.
You know, it's interesting, too, James, and as a linebacker, you can address this. Sometimes when it's been pass, you get in that back pedal mode, and then suddenly they shift gears, and sometimes you don't shift gears with them, and suddenly you're on your roller skates, and the running game is much more effective on the other side.
Hansen lucky to fall on that one as the exchange went to the ground, so it'll be a 3rd down and short now.
But even in that situation, did you notice that he fumbles the ball and he's able to get forward a little bit? The offensive line is getting some kind of push, and Colorado State needs to rise the occasion. Take a look at this. Watch it fall. Now watch. But look, green shirts are downfield. Green shirts are downfield. It's not like he had to scramble and go backwards.
Empty set, 5 wides, trying to spread out the defense on 3rd and 4. Got to know where the sticks are, guys, and Momo Thomas, too much cushion, and it's an easy first down as Hansen finds Tony Clements.
James, you're exactly right. Thomas in that situation has to be, if not in press coverage, at least in a situation you can see. Take a look to the top left of your screen. He's nearly 9 yards off of the receiver, and that's just a gimme throw for Hansen.
Colorado now 3 of 5 on 3rd down. And it was the 3rd worst defense in the nation. Almost 55% they gave up to their opponents on 3rd down conversions a year ago. Not much pressure. Hansen stands in, fires it up there. Scotty McKnight. First down, and has now tied Michael Westbrook for #1 all-time catches at the University of Colorado.
I tell you what, though, James, take a look at the protection. Hansen has a long time to survey downfield to throw that deep dig route. But here's another issue. Take a look at McKnight. Look who's in coverage, James. That's Brewer who's running after him. That's a trying situation. Remember earlier they had Sisson on it. You got to have some defensive backs cover number 21.
If Hansen hits him in stride, he might be in the end zone. Goes back to McKnight. How's this for breaking the record? Scotty McKnight, touchdown. Scotty McKnight, more catches than anybody in CU history.
James, having run a few corner routes in my time, I can tell you one of the best feelings in the world is when you break to the corner, there's no help underneath and no help on top. If you're all alone like that, it just feels awfully good. McKnight is the happiest man on the field right now.
168 career catches. Originally on his way to Boise State. He's a Buff, not a Bronco, and he's #1 all time. 14-0 Buffs.
Scotty McKnight able to pay off a big drive, over 80 yards here. And you can see, watch the right of your screen, he's going to take off and run to the corner. At some point, someone's got to make a decision, whether it's the free safety or corner, who's going to back up. When you have that section of the field, everybody's responsible. Absolutely nobody goes with number 21. And as I told you, that's just a tremendous feeling when you're all alone like that and you can see the ball in the air. You say to yourself when the ball comes down, don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it. As you can see, 9 plays, 82 yards. And of course, the bulk of that, let's give Stewart credit, his running had a lot to do with that.
Drive summary brought to you by the most award-winning brand of 4x4s ever, Jeep. Check out the entire lineup at Jeep.com. Goodman's kick is a beauty. Nobody will touch that out the back of the end zone, and we'll start at the 20. And Todd, just as you mentioned at the beginning of that series, you give a heavy dose of pass, and then you give some run, and you got guys back on their heels. It was a drive that started with 6 straight runs and finished with 3 straight passes. And 2 of those caught by Scotty McKnight, just running free down the field.
Well, and this is what we were talking about at the top of the game when we were talking about keys to the game, is finding the requisite balance. And that drive, they certainly did. Colorado State just didn't know where to look.
Very important drive for the freshman, Pete Thomas, and his Ram offense. 4-man rush, stands in there strong, and there he does hook up. Matt Yem, his first reception of the afternoon. Down to Roger Baylor.
And guys, you alluded to the game time temperature being 90 degrees. It's approaching triple digits down here, but it's not that hot down here because the wind is swirling. The way these guys are staying cool is they have vests on under their shoulder pads, under their jerseys. They come over to the sideline. They get connected to what is a cold spray that goes underneath their shoulder pads and underneath their jersey, keeping that body temperature down, keeping them cool. Offense, defense does the same thing every time they come on and off the field.
All right, Roger, we'll stay in hot. That defensive front for Colorado, that was Forrest West, the backup defensive end, and Raymond Carter has had trouble getting going. There's a good look at the cooling system. Found it hard to believe in our notes that this is just the 8th time in Colorado history that they've played in a football game where the temperature was over 90 degrees.
Well, again, you know, some of those hot weather places like in the Midwest in the Big 12, evidently they play them later in the season.
2nd and long, back to the ground, and it'll still bring up a 3rd down and 9.
That was the first time they ran their counter tray in the game, and Carter has been stuffed thus far. James, I think one of the things that Colorado State has to adjust to here is, remember last year they had the most experienced offensive line in the nation. And Carter coming in here with all the ballyhoo of being transferred as a freshman coming out a couple of years ago, he was the #3 ranked runner in the country. And they've been saying nothing but good things about him, but up to this point, Colorado has piled 8 in the box, and they've been able to thwart his effectiveness.
Now a defense that can pin its ears back, but they only bring 5. Thomas lofts one up there and incomplete. A heck of a play defensively by Travis Sandersfield, who's been strong against the run. He can't come up with that one. But once again, Colorado holds.
There's a situation where you have to have your clock in your head. This is great coverage downfield. Thomas has plenty of time, but he throws kind of a pop-up here. Look at that. He lofts the ball and watches the ball comes down. It seems like it's up in the air forever. He was lucky that one didn't come back.
Kondodiakis.
And they're going to replay that. Or did Colorado?
Timeout. Colorado. Oh. They're first in the half.
Okay.
30-second timeout.
Well, all plays are reviewed, and let's review it ourselves here. We've got a chance to look at it. Wow, he had control of it, and the hand was down.
Now remember the hand, and remember too, the butt can take the place of the foot. See, there's the, but look, the foot was down, and so was the butt. They might want to take another look at this. There's the catch, there's possession, there's the foot, and there's his rear end still in bounds.
Two Lyman, Colorado guys right there fighting for that ball. Tyson Liggett, the senior, and the junior Travis Sandersfield, who's getting even more playing time with Parker Orms injured. Today's replay is brought to you by Xfinity, only from Comcast. No review.
They're blowing the whistle now.
However this turns out, you got to tip the cap to the athleticism of Sandersfield to go up and pull that one down.
I agree. And normally that's those sorts of hands you don't see.
The previous play is under further review.
No offense to linebackers in general, but usually a guy that can make catches like that, you usually have on the offensive side of the ball. So you're absolutely right. That's a tremendous athletic play all the way around. And great anticipation on his part to read the eyes. This is the advantage of 3rd and 9. Okay, there's possession. Okay, now watch. Hand, the left foot, and there's his butt. I don't think he ever loses possession, does he, James?
He never loses possession. It's a hand and a foot, which has to count as 2 feet. Whether the butt's in before that torso hits the white line.
Well, see, that begs the interesting point there. It in the rule book, is it 1 or 2 cheeks? Do you know that for sure?
You're going to crack them up at home, Todd. You keep that up.
Yeah, Grandpa Christensen's really funny.
Well, regardless, Tyson Liggett needs to turn into a defender there, too, and rake those wrists.
Absolutely.
Reaction in the stadium is the Colorado Buff crowd watching the replay on the big screen here at beautiful Invesco Field.
Well, I think what the back judge saw initially when he called the incompletion was that he thought the ball had popped out of his left arm, but it never did.
After further review, the ruling is an interception. It'll be Colorado's ball, 1st and 10 at the 42-yard line.
And I got to tell you, something that I thought was really cool is you see this tremendous play made by Sandersfield. Remember we showed him earlier on the sidelines and he was just sitting down? You know, how many times do you see a guy that makes the catch that goes over and just, come on, do something, come on, get the replay, I got it. And he was calm, he was really calm. But that's a terrific play that he made, and that man right there isn't very happy. That one is. It's what a big difference that you couldn't punt the ball away. I think they want to make sure, of the positioning.
And for a team, Todd, in Colorado State that doesn't seem to have the big play comeback ability, this is a big series defensively. One more catch for Scotty McKnight, and he's forced out of bounds quickly by Shaw. Defense has to find a way to stiffen. They can't afford to go down 21-0 here as we're just under 7 minutes left to go in the first half.
Shaw does a good job of bouncing off the turf after getting his legs cut and forcing the ball out of bounds for a negligible gain.
Here comes the blitz, a late one, but the pass is off to Rodney Stewart. Needs one block, he gets it from Paul Richardson, and down in the red zone one more time go the Buffs.
This is a great call by Eric Kiesau, anticipating the blitz. You're going to see the blitz come from Colorado State. He has a short pass. He decides that he's not going to block. He's going to be hot. And as a result of being hot, he's able to cut up field. Look at that. He just lets people go. And now he's off to the races. And as you point out, James, touchdown saving tackle downfield. Great feed on the part of number 5.
27-yard pickup for Stewart. He stays in and takes the handoff. And look at that. He goes right into the teeth of big Nuku Latu, but still manages to squirt out for about 4.5 yards. The 309-pounder, Todd, had him dead to rights, but he couldn't drop the little big man.
I got to tell you, you see 5'6". Of course, everybody's aware of Darren Sproles, and in the old days, maybe a Nolan Smith or a Hoyle Granger, or some of these other running backs. It's interesting that ever since Eric Bieniemy, it seems like Colorado has a quality running back that's vertically challenged.
Brian Lockridge, the second guy on the depth chart, is only 5'7". So here's a second down and 5 from the CSU 12. And again, Todd, just when he looks like he's stopped for a loss or a no-gainer, he manages to get a couple.
You know, it reminds me of an old comic strip that I used to have up on my fridge, where it had the short guy. His name was Andy Capp. And it shows him walking away having won the fight. The other guy's got this big black bot and he's missing his tooth. And he says, his response is, I know he only came up to my chin, but he came up too often. That seems to be the case with Stewart. He keeps coming.
That's Todd Christensen giving you the Andy Capp humor. Roger Bailey's down on the field probably laughing at it. I'm James Bates. Glad you're with us in Invesco today. Here's a third down for the Buffs. And that's a big play. Slicing through there in a hurry. Defensively for Colorado State, the safety Ivory Hurd and Ricky Brewer as well.
And Ricky Brewer, these are the sort of plays that they missed last year. Watch number 56 Submarine and get in the middle of the play along with Hurd to stuff them. And as you pointed out, James, could not afford to go down 21-0. Even though it's not necessarily a victory, it certainly is helpful to force a field goal in this situation by Eric Goodman.
28-yard attempt for the senior Goodman. University of Colorado with a 17-0 lead with 4:07 left in the first half. As we welcome you back to Invesco, we take a look at the speedster Rodney Stewart and take a look at our high-speed play brought to you by Xfinity, only from Comcast, wearing them down right now with the speed.
His only catch of the game, but he made it worthwhile. 27 yards, setting up that 28-yard field goal by Eric Goodman.
And you start with number 5, the junior tailback, Rodney Stewart, but a definite contrast when you look at big playmakers and running ability so far in the first half. A little bit extra juice on the side of Colorado here today, Todd. Chance at a return after the 28-yard field goal. Eric Goodman puts it out of the back of the end zone.
Easy for me to say in the booth, but the one thing that the young quarterback, as well as Steve Fairchild, the offensive cogniz, said he can't do here is panic. There's an entire second half, 4 minutes remaining here in the first half. They can still attempt to establish a run. I just think that they've been struggling in some of their run sets because they just can't seem to get an opening for Carter. They still have to make the attempt.
Not bad numbers for Pete Thomas, but most of the completions have been underneath There they go to the ground on first down. Just a couple for Raymond Carter.
And there, as you point out, James, 8 for 11 with that interception. But of course, that means he's only getting 5 yards per attempt, and that's not going to get it done over the course of a game.
Rams will go with a 2 tight end, 2 wide receivers set. That's Ponga, who's now the wingback. Steele, his first catch of the day, is a first down. Good throw by Thomas, and the Rams move across the 40.
This is a great touch pass on the part of Thomas, to get the ball over the top of the linebackers. Take a look at, he's got to get that over the top and underneath the safety. That's great. That's just a great job, and hanging in there when people are in his face. That's one of the advantages of being 6'5". Once again, a throw like that gives you a lot of confidence.
18 yards on that pickup, and par for the course in the first half. A stingy defensive front for Colorado that's led by Marquez Herod.
James, we haven't addressed this point very much, but I made a brief reference to it earlier. Remember, this was the most experienced offensive line last year. They're really dependent upon them, particularly in the running game. I think that maybe the losses of some of these people like Martinez and Shelley Smith, they're being felt here on a day like this.
4 guys that started for CSU on the offensive line last year are now in NFL training camps, getting ready to start regular season football next weekend. The Denver Broncos will be on the road to play the Jacksonville Jaguars.
As the clock gets under 2 minutes, you have to ask yourself the question, 0 for 5 on 3rd down, whether or not this is 4-down territory, James.
It's Ponga who splits wide down at the bottom of your screen. 5-man rush, and Borky should have enough for a first down, so the sticks will move as Colorado State takes it into Colorado territory.
This is the reason why you like to have those 6'3", 6'4", 210, 215, 220-pound wide receivers. As they sit down in those seams, catch the ball, and even when they get clobbered between the hashes, it works out well. Normally, those aren't the sort of throws that you get to your Smurf wide receivers, and Borky does a nice job of moving the sticks.
Too strong for Ponga, who has good hands, but he can't get up to get that one. Let's take a look at our out-of-town scoreboard, brought to you by RE/MAX, the sign you want, the agent you need. Well, Utah, when the Pac-12 comes around, will be the travel partner of Colorado. The Buffaloes here today in a big win in overtime over Dave Wanstedt's best team that he's had at Pitt. And there you see the rest of the Mountain West Conference action that'll get going later today. TCU and Oregon State, a big one in Arlington, Texas. So second time in Colorado territory. The Rams trying not to come up empty this time, though. Plenty of space and time for Pete Thomas. He takes a shot. It'll bring up 3rd down as we near a minute left to play in the first half.
They're going to call a timeout here so we can come over and discuss this very crucial 3rd down play. For those of you following from a kicking standpoint, Ben DeLine, his long last year was 47 yards, so they still need probably about 15 yards to get into his range.
Today's Sideline Steadicam coverage brought to you by DenverSteadicam.com. DenverSteadicam.com for more information. That's a big money unit. That Steadicam goes about $30,000, $40,000. And our man Kevin is working hard to give us great shots all afternoon here in the mile-high sun of Denver, Colorado. Glad you're with us today. A high noon clash here, the Rocky Mountain Showdown between Colorado State and the Buffaloes of Colorado. And tables turned from last year. Steve Fairchild's squad all over the Buffs early. And it's a 17-0 CU lead.
One of the reasons I commented to the idea of a 4-down territory, James, is because in the second half, Colorado will receive.
Thomas buys some time, and it's picked off. Outstanding play by Jaleel Brown.
This is where Thomas needs to understand the speed of the game, James. He breaks out of the pocket, heads downfield. Now, this is a great idea because he has a guy down there, but he throws the ball behind, and what a great catch. What a terrific play by Brown.
So 58 seconds left to work now for Hansen and the Buffs. Big play, they go way up top, and Momo Thomas gets an interception of his own, stride for stride, with the intended receiver, Paul Richardson.
This is an enormous play by Momo Thomas. A huge play. Colorado State, you know they're down, you know they're struggling a little bit, down 17-0. Could have been very easy to not pay attention. Instead, he runs with him stride for stride, makes the catch. Great job by Thomas here. Now he rolls back and gets in a situation where Colorado State still has a shot here with 45 seconds remaining to get into field goal range.
And they'll go to the air. Second catch of the day for Byron Steele. And quickly here in the 2-minute drill, the freshman gets them all on the ball.
Interesting, in a lot of the 2-minute drills here, they utilize T.J. Borky. But here, Thomas is their great thrower, so Borky's not going to see the field, certainly not a quarterback.
So he lost this one, and this time he does connect with Tyson Liggett, and he isn't able to get out of bounds. The clock will roll. One timeout left here, Todd.
And he's going to, I would guess that he's going to spike the ball here because they want to preserve that one timeout. You know, it's interesting with Thomas, just as we say, well, how could you make that throw? Then he makes a beautiful touch pass like that in a corner. And then prior to that on the dig route, gets over the top of the linebackers.
No spike here, as there's the knee, and there's the blitz setting up the screen. And here's John Mosier.
Now they're going to have to use their timeout.
Mosier couldn't get those shoulders turned north and south, and so the clock down to 4 seconds, and Fairchild.
James, I'm really surprised at that. You get under center. Again, it's a true freshman, and I get it. Maybe the wherewithal isn't all there, but still, you've got to get under center, spike the ball, come back with 19 seconds remaining, and give yourself an opportunity for 2, maybe 3 plays. Instead, that screen pass takes a lot of time, and now with 4 seconds left, they're going to have to kick it.
There's our crew over there getting ready. We've got Marius, Ted, Bo, and Bill. Hi, guys. Looking good. Yeah, I bet you they're nice and toasty with the coats on. We'll take an in-depth look at Colorado State linebacker Ricky Brewer, and, of course, a peek back at the stats and highlights of the first half.
But on the bright side, I'm sure those lights are cooling them off.
Yeah.
You know, there's always pressure on a kicker in these circumstances. But I think, James, if you're Colorado State, you have to leave the field with something positive.
It'll be up to Ben DeLine from 38 yards out. And it's blocked. Now there's a positive out of that play, but it's all for the black and gold. And don't the Buff fans know it?
Motions are running. How do you assess what just happened to end the half?
Well, we tried to take a shot. They did a good job, got in field goal position. Our field goal block did a great job. So that's the way it goes, momentum. You got to get a couple of those plays in the game. It's great we got it right there.
You were concerned about how young your defensive line was. Are you happy with their play in the first 2 quarters?
Yeah, doing a better job. Got to turn over there. We're just so sloppy on offense. Got to clean that up.
Nice job, Coach.
Thank you.
A first half here at Invesco that was all Buffs all the time. They lead by 17. We're going to keep it right over here and get it to our guys working hard in the studio. Bill Dolman, take it away.
And welcome to Xfinity Live at the Stadium Halftime Show with Ted Sundquist and Bo Morgan. I'm Bill Dolman. And boy, guys, things have gotten a whole lot more blustery since the opening kickoff. There's a wind tunnel where we are right now. And right now, all the momentum in the world belongs to the Colorado Buffaloes. And I think you go back, it comes down to one fourth down play in that first quarter.
Absolutely. Control of emotions. We talked about it. Tyler Hansen came out, was poised, found his playmakers. They made big plays for him.
I think 2 things stand out. One, field position. CSU has not had very good starting field position, and then the line of scrimmage. CU has dominated really on both sides of the ball.
When you take a look at the highlights of the first 30 minutes of this football game, there's a lot of goals, but it's the black and gold that's really controlled the way the game has been played. They've gotten the turnovers, and they've gotten whatever big plays that we have seen, and there you see the very first touchdown of the game.
Yeah. Bill, what I've seen is the control of the line of scrimmage on both sides by the CU Buffs. If you compare it to last year, CSU came out and was on fire up front, controlled the line of scrimmage. This year, I think the Buffs have done a really good job of establishing that front. They've got that experienced offensive line. They're protecting Hansen, giving him some time. He's not forcing his throws. I think it all starts up front.
What do you think of the play of the 2 quarterbacks? Hansen really seems poised right now, and it gets more and more confident as the half has gone on. What about Pete Thomas? He's 11 of 15, but no big plays.
Well, you're right, Bill. I mean, I think for Pete Thomas, the name of the game was getting through the first half without losing the football game, and I guess that remains to be seen at this point. But I think for Pete Thomas, the important thing was he got his first half of college football under his belt. He made some nice passes, had a couple of mistakes that cost the team a little bit. Tyler Hansen, very poised right now. I've been very impressed with his ability to make smart plays. You know, the play's not there. He tucks and runs or checks down to his receiver. He's, I think, done everything you could ask of the CU quarterback at this point.
When you take a look at what Pete Thomas has been asked to do, and it has been, for the most part, a very simplified game plan for Colorado State, much like we saw last year with Grant Stucker, who was making his first start as a senior quarterback. But now you're comfortable. You've got 30 minutes of your career under your belt, but you've got a 17-point deficit you got to try and make up. Doesn't Colorado State need to take a few more chances in the second half?
Well, I think they're going to have to. You know, I think CU was content in the first half to kind of hang back and let Thomas come out and try to beat them with his arm. They were allowing him to dump the ball off to his short receivers. High completion percentage, they're really not making a whole lot happen with it after they catch the ball. They've been able to shut down the run game, so, you know, down by 17, he's going to have to take the ball downfield a little bit more. Watch for CU to put some pressure on him via the blitz.
Well, I think everything you just talked about, Ted, favors CU because it takes CSU out of their game plan. They're a physical team. We know they want to run the football. I don't know why exactly, but they haven't been able to establish the run. I look and see John Mosier, a guy who the last 2 years has been outstanding in this football game. He hasn't really been on the field, been a non-factor. Whatever they're going to do, CSU's got to figure out a way to get more productivity out of first down to avoid some of these 3rd and long situations, because that's not a good situation to put your freshman quarterback in.
Well, the chance for Colorado State to get some momentum there going into the locker room, and the field goal attempt gets blocked. All right, we got plenty more to come from Invesco Field on our Xfinity halftime show live at the stadium. Right now, we want to send it to Natalie Vickers in our Ram studio.
Thank you, Bill. Before today's game, we had an in-depth feature on CSU's Ricky Brewer, but there were some things we left out of that we thought you might like to hear. No question, it has been a long and trying year for the star linebacker. It started with a bad decision to smoke marijuana and ended in a year-long drug suspension. But the worst part of all was that he let down his team, his fans, and his family. Well, he is back now, but you can be assured he won't soon forget the lesson.
It's definitely made me more hungry to go out there and make plays, and as a person, it's definitely helped me mature. And I don't think I would be as sharp of a person and as mature of a person if I hadn't gone through this experience. I'm going into the senior year. It's time to grow up and just kind of prepare myself for the real world. I definitely want to play on the next level, the NFL for sure, but not a guarantee. So I always have to have a plan B and be ready. Having that year off just was a great refreshing period for my joints and muscles. I used it basically as a year just to develop. I worked in the weight room twice as hard. I was basically on a freshman lifting plan, so it basically helped boost the development. So now I'm coming into the season weighing 220 versus last season where I was 210. So that should definitely help out. Now, health-wise, coming back and getting back into action, you get dinged up a little bit, but I've been fortunate not to have anything too serious to keep me sidelined. So hopefully, God willing, that progresses. CSU is a great program, and I'm happy to be here for sure. And I'm glad my family and I made the decision to stick with it and ride this year out. Basically, the coaches have been great. They've been in my corner, and they basically coached me up off the field and helped me mature. Coach Fairchild, he was on me the toughest, of course, because he had to implement the whole punishment. But Coach Kerr, he did a great job of keeping me encouraged versus kind of embarrassing me and that whole deal. They didn't do any of that, which definitely helped the process go a lot smoother. However, I think I was hard on myself. It definitely hurt to damage my team like that. So that was just a decision I have to live with, and it's time to grow up.
Well, that's all we have from Ram Studio here in Denver. Hope you enjoyed that. Time now to get you back out to Invesco Field. They'll take it away.
Thank you, Natalie. The Colorado State-Colorado game is officially called the Cinch Jeans Rocky Mountain Showdown presented by Xfinity. And Marius Payton is with us now, and he's talking with a guy who's enjoying being on center stage for today's game.
Thanks so much, Bill. I'm standing here with Keith Monday, Vice President of Cinch Jeans. And Keith, how important was it for Cinch Jeans to be involved with this Rocky Mountain Showdown?
Oh, it's huge for us. We've been around Denver since 1918. Not me personally, but the company's been around for 92 years. So to give back to Colorado has been a big goal for us, and this just seemed like a natural for us.
And you guys make jeans for everyone.
We make jeans for everybody. We kind of get pigeonholed a little bit as just a Western company, but we've got some different brands. We make 5 different brands. There's Southern Thread, there's Cruel Girl, there's Miller Ranch, there's Cinch, there's Rockies. So we make jeans really for everybody, all ages, men, women, kids. It doesn't matter. We got jeans for everybody.
And you got a factory right here in Denver as well.
We do. We have a factory here in Denver. Actually, it's not a factory, it's a factory store here in Denver, but everything is designed and distributed right here in Denver.
Why was Colorado so important to your business?
Well, I think Philip Miller, our founder, who came here from New York in 1918, he came here for health reasons. What he thought was going to be a 2-week trip to sell some cowboy hats turned into a 92-year love affair with Denver, Colorado.
Well, Keith, thanks so much for your company taking part in this Rocky Mountain Showdown, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys having me.
All right, Bill, let's send it back up to you.
Thank you, Marius, and thanks to the good folks at Cinch Jeans. It's time for us to take a break. We are at halftime, and Colorado leads Colorado State 17-0. You're watching live. Welcome back to the Xfinity Live at the Stadium halftime show on the mountain. The Colorado Gold is shining a little brighter than the Rams. Green and gold, 17-0 is our score. Marius Payton right now is with a big, and I mean big, Colorado State fan.
Bill, we are joined now by CSU alum and current NBA star Jason Smith. And Jason, a lot of people are wondering, what's been going on with you as of late?
Well, just been trying to get back in shape for a new season coming up. We got a new coach. We got a great expectations, and we're looking to have a good year this year.
Now, the last time I talked to you, you were just going into the NBA. Has it lived up to, all of your dreams?
Everything and more. Everything and more. As a kid, you always dreamed to get to this level, and now that I'm here, I'm just taking it all in, trying to get better every day and keep on going.
Has there been one specific moment that you remember about being in the NBA?
Boy, it's just seeing all the great players and great competition. It's amazing. Every time you go into a new arena, you just get a new feeling, and it's really great to just go out and compete every game and with the world's best players.
So what should the fans expect when they see you on the floor this year?
lots of energy, lots of intensity. I'm going to go out there and give it 110%.
Speaking of energy and intensity, what's it like to be back home for one of these CU-CSU football games?
Oh, there's nothing like it. Nothing like it. Green and gold going versus gold and black. Oh, you got to be going for the green and gold. Green and gold all the way.
Any football game stand out to you the most when you were here?
Oh, I think there was my second year in 08, they had a overtime, and I think we lost in a field goal. I'm not sure, but they always have great games for CU, CSU football games, but this year it's just kind of, we're getting kind of roughed up this year.
Right now your team's down 17-0 at the half. What advice would you give the team in the locker room if you were in there right now?
Oh, you got nothing to lose. Come out here, give it your all. That's all you can do. At the end of the day, you know you gave it your all.
All right, Jay Smooth, how about a prediction for the second half for CSU?
Boy, I think we're going to come back, make it a close game, win by a last-second touchdown.
All right, Jason Smith, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck to you, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, Bill, back up to you.
Thank you, Marius. I think Marius was actually standing on a box, too, just to get that close to Jason Smith. All right, guys, we had a couple of minutes left before we kick off the second half. If you are Steve Fairchild in your locker room right now, you've got a team that's down by 3 scores. You made a mistake on 4th down. You've turned the ball over a couple of times. A blocked field goal. Not much more can go wrong, can it? I mean, you got to be thinking things are going to turn around.
Absolutely. I think Larry Kerr is going to have to find a way to put some pressure on Tyler Hansen, stop that running game, and create some turnovers, because without it, right now that offense just doesn't seem to be clicking. A little bit of production there at the very end, but, you know, Pete Thomas is being forced to dump the ball off to short, the short routes, and they're coming up and tackling well.
I agree with you, Ted. I think for CSU, from their standpoint, there's got to be a spark. They may need to score on defense to get back into this football game right now, because offensively, they just haven't really done anything to finish drives, and they haven't had good field position. That needs to change. I think if you're CU, on the other hand, right now, hey, you just keep doing what you're doing. You say to Rodney Stewart, hey, strap on your work clothes this second half. You're going to get the football a lot. And he had a great first half, made a nice reception there. So I think from CU's perspective, it's just more of the same.
Take a look at the comparison between the 2 quarterbacks. And as we mentioned earlier on in the halftime show, Tyler Hansen, as the game was going on, just seems to be much more confident from the opening kickoff to the final moments of the first half. Now, if you're Pete Thomas and you're Steve Fairchild, what do you do? Your numbers are decent, 14 of 19. You're efficient, but no big plays. So how do you perhaps get some big plays out of that Colorado State offense? Do you let the ball fly, or do you just kind of grind it out and hope things go your way?
Well, I really think the key for CSU right now is they've got to get in better position first and second down. You can't ask that quarterback to get into 3rd and long situations and be productive. And, you know, he's having to drive 80 yards every time. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. You need big plays, but you've got to, at some point, find that running game that you talk about all the time.
Real quick, Ted.
It's still only 17 points. They've got to find the running game. That offensive line has got to grow up in a hurry, attack that CU front, and loosen some things up so that he can get those throws down the field.
All right, 30 more minutes of football to go here at Invesco Field. Hope you enjoyed Halftime Live, brought to you by Xfinity. We're going to take a break now. Right now, when we come back, we'll send it back up to the booth for the second half right here on the Mountain.
Halftime Live is brought to you by Ram. Award-winning Ram trucks, plus a new heavy-duty, make it one of the most powerful lineups in Ram history.
Here comes Ralphie as we get set to start the 3rd quarter here at Invesco Field. Before we do, let's check out the great clips of the game. Visit GreatClips.com or call 1-800-GREAT-CLIPS for a salon near you. Great Clips, relax. You're at Great Clips. And no time to relax if you're Steve Fairchild and those Colorado State Rams. They've got to find a way to turn the tide. We welcome you back to Mile High Stadium along with Todd Christensen. I'm James Bates. A tale of two teams, and it's been all Buffs in the first half. It's been all Buffs quarterback as well.
Yeah, Hansen has had an outstanding first half, 10 for 14. He's had 137 yards and a couple of touchdowns. In addition, not just throwing the ball, but running as well. He's been very effective, managing the game extremely well. He does have the one turnover, but it ended up being inconsequential because of the blocked field goal. Now, on the other side of the ball, Pete Thomas, we talked about being the true freshman. There are going to be some changes, as it were. You know, they have to go through some alterations. You see those two big interceptions, nice completion percentage. He did some very nice things in that 2-minute drill. But again, he's going to have to grow up in a hurry if they're going to win this ball game.
7 first downs in the first half for Colorado State, and all of them through the air. Steve Fairchild, not many coaches like Fairchild like to run the ball and power it like he did in the NFL, but that's usually what you get out of the Rams. They're unable to set up any kind of power attack, thus setting up the pass.
Carter's going to have to do an awful lot better than 8 carries for 8 yards here in the second half. And again, only down 17 points. I think that they can still establish some semblance of a running game, but we'll see what happens because Colorado gets the ball first.
Fairchild, Hawkins, two teams that finished last season at 3-9, trying to turn the tide. And it's a good first half for the Buffaloes. And they'll get the ball to receive here to start the second half. Meyer deep to receive. The DeLine kick. And a nice hop for the Rams. And able to scoot out of there, Brian Lockridge. There is a flag on the play. Let's get it down to Roger, who caught up with Coach Fairchild on the way out.
And guys, I had a pretty candid conversation with Coach Fairchild. I asked him what the biggest disappointment in that first half was, and he said, myself, the fourth down play call, I take full responsibility for that, and it kind of changed the momentum of the game. I asked him what he thought about Pete Thomas, and he goes, he's going through a learning curve right now. There's something that we couldn't do about it. He's got to get experience and get comfortable in our system. Also, he feels that there's a lot of guys being nervous around him, which makes him a little bit more nervous. He's expecting better and bigger things for this second half.
Well, thank you, Roger. And while we're getting that report, we got word the flag was for an illegal block. And so what was a 35-yard return will come back to the 20 for Tyler Hansen and these Buffs. The junior quarterback, Todd, you mentioned he was good in the first half, but he wasn't great. This score, it could be a little bit uglier had he not thrown behind a couple receivers. Of course, he finally hooked up with Scotty McKnight, who broke a record all-time receptions in CU history there in the first half. Here's Paul Richardson, who has a first down on the first play from scrimmage in the second half. Our keys to the game brought to you by Ram, award-winning Ram trucks, plus a new heavy duty, make it one of the most powerful lineups in Ram history.
Well, the balancing act for Colorado seems to have come to fruition here. You see the rushing yards, but passing, they've thrown 15 times. They've rushed 14 times. New kid on the block has obviously struggled with those 2 interceptions. Colorado State has yet to get physical with Colorado. And third down's a charm. 3 of 6, still not good enough.
Rodney Stewart ran into the backs of a couple offensive linemen, able to get outside and turn it up for about 4 or 5. You know, Roger talked about Steve Fairchild and momentum and how he killed the momentum in the first half. As we look at Michael Sisson is being tended to. The big playmaking linebacker looks to be a cramp the way they grabbed that foot. Fortunately,
Hope
yes.
so, yeah. On a day like this, you might anticipate that. Right at the end of the play. You can see right there as he grabs that left leg. You can see it bow just a little bit. Having experienced that 1 or 2 times myself, I can tell you it's no fun when that leg locks up. As you get a chance to see Larry Kerr, the defensive coordinator for Colorado State.
False start. Offense, number 63. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
So instead of a second down and 5, it'll be a second down and 10, and for the third time this afternoon, an offsides is called against a lineman for Colorado. Todd, last year the halftime score, Colorado State 20-3, and they had done it all on the ground. 139 yards rushing, only 20 yards rushing for the Rams in the first half. There's the difference between your freshman and your junior. The junior slides, doesn't it?
Exactly right. To live to play another day. Hansen, the one thing that Eric Kiesau, offensive coordinator, commented to us with regards to Hansen is his maturity level. As he said in the past, it was this one read and he's gone. In this case, he surveyed a number of other people before he took off, and as you say, the slide on the right side and safe for another play.
We remind you today's replays are brought to you by Xfinity, only from Comcast. Third and 3, pressure on Hansen, and almost intercepted as it was off the hands of the tight end Luke Walters laying out there. Elijah Blue Smith almost took the deflection in.
Excellent pressure on the part of Colorado State, forcing him out of the pocket to go to his left, and that's the reason for the errant throw. And Larry Kerr's got to be awfully happy given the circumstances there. If they're able to get those Colorado Buffs off the field, and despite the fact that a very makeable 3rd and 3.5, Colorado State is able to thwart the Buffs.
That's Momo Thomas at his own 11s.
Another low kick.
A liner. And there's a flag. We're going to have a block in the back. So just when you've got decent field position, there's that momentum that Roger talked about. You have a penalty on the opening kickoff, unable to take advantage of it if they get a big play here. And there's a late flag that comes down as well after the 42-yard punt and a 15-yard return that looks like it may be coming back. But there are 2 flags down on the field.
You know, I got to tell you, James, I'm becoming less and less a fan of this rugby kick for that very reason. You know, if you're covering, you get 10 yards downfield and you look and you see the guy's made the catch, you know, that's not good. I mean, you don't even have to be a great returner. Just run straight ahead and you got 10, 12, 15 yards.
There are fouls by both teams. During the return, illegal block in the back. Receiving team, 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Kicking team, number 51, 15-yard penalty from that spot, first down.
So Shaw and Rippey, the guilty parties. After we get it all sorted out, it will be Colorado State ball for the first time in the second half here under the Colorado sun when we come back. The drive of the game is brought to you by Brakes Plus. A whole lot more back in the first half. It was Rodney Stewart about 6 times in a row. He set him up, and Scotty McKnight on a record-tying and then record-setting reception into the end zone. His 3rd catch and the record breaker today. More career receptions than anybody to play Colorado football. That's your Brakes Plus drive of the game. First look at Pete Thomas in the offense here in the second half. Again, hit before he reaches the line of scrimmage is Raymond Carter. That time it was the defensive end Josh Hardigan back there.
You know, if Carter, you can see by the body language with the hands on hip, he's just getting frustrated. It's not as if he's fumbling the ball or he's not making the right cuts. It's just that, James, I would guess on those 9 carries that he has had for 8 yards up to this point, he's been hitting the backfield at least half of them. The penetration by Colorado's defensive line has been excellent, and Colorado State has not been able to contain it.
Again, remind you, Fairchild told us if we block it right, he's gone. We haven't seen a whole lot of right blocking, I guess, so far today. Here's Thomas. Waits for Pites to come across the field, but right there in his hip pocket, the defenders for Colorado. Ray Polk.
Yeah, I just realized something. You know why he changed to number 11? Pites? Why? Thins you. Makes you thin. I don't know. Don't you know that story? That's the reason why the New York Yankees went with pinstripes, is to make Babe Ruth look thinner. 45 made him look a little bit bulkier. 11? Yeah.
Did you guys notice in our halftime shot that Todd Christensen is wearing pinstripes this afternoon? And there's a big third down that the Rams are unable to convert. And a great play by the linebacker, Todd.
I was going to say, you know what? I've been very impressed by Major today. We've called his name a number of times. A very short tackler. And that's something very impressive about the Buffs. You know, coming across the field now, get a little momentum, cut up field, bust through it a little bit. He tackles him. He falls down on the yard line. Maybe gets the first down. No, drops him right in his tracks. That's happened about a half dozen times today. Colorado has been a very sure tackling team today.
And again, we got on the defense earlier. Offensively, you've got to know where those first down sticks are. Tackled a yard shy by B.J. Beatty. Here comes Trayvon Patterson. Had a touchdown reception earlier. And he's got his offense right back in outstanding field position. There is a late flag that flies down. And Trayvon Patterson has 1 year to make it count in Boulder, and that's just what he's doing to start off this 2010 football season.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Return team number 3. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, Trayvon says, "You're killing me, Jimmy Smith. You're killing me." It will be Buff ball when we return. 10:35 left to go in the third quarter. Mountain College football is brought to you by RE/MAX, the sign you want, the agent you need. By your Colorado AMCO transmission dealers. Putting off checking your transmission because you don't know who to trust? Take it to the experts at AMCO. By Brakes Plus, a whole lot more. And by Steel. To find the full line of dependable Steel outdoor power equipment, see your local servicing Steel dealer or visit steeldealers.com. Beautiful looking shots all day long here at Invesco Field at Mile High. Roger Bailey down on the sidelines along with Todd Christensen. I'm James Bates. Glad you're with us on a day that hasn't been too pretty for the Colorado State Rams. Buffalo's trying to help them out so far in the second half with penalties. They just had a big run back. At 15 yards were tacked off of. Rodney Stewart, a big 47-yard first half, has had the defense on its heels, and he gets a couple right there.
Well, that's a big deal right there. You're looking at about a first down and a half, a big difference in terms of field position. And if you're an offense, I can tell from personal experience, when you've got a shorter field, it just feels better. You have a little more confidence. You know, an incomplete pass, you know, an offsides, a penalty, something along of that ilk isn't as problematic when you have a short field. When you have a longer field, you have to be a little more careful.
Quick wide receiver screen out there to Clemens. Clemens gets going north and south in a hurry and will move the chains. Clemens, the transfer from Michigan. And Trayvon Patterson, another transfer from USC. 4 guys on this field at wide receiver for Colorado that are in the top 6 receivers, and they didn't even play last year. So a big boost as we take a look at the new 1st and 10 line, brought to you by RE/MAX, the sign you want, the agent you need. Clemens, cousin to Steve Breston of the Arizona Cardinals, who played his college career at Michigan, where Clemens started. Upended is Hansen, but he will get across the 50-yard line, and about 6-7 yards too many if you're a Ram on first down. So it's 2nd down and 3.
You know, we talked about Jordan Wynn of Utah, James, when they had that zone read that he would never pull the ball out. Obviously, if you've got Hansen, he can pull that ball out. Defensive end went down. Looked like he was going to get a lot more yardage than that, but Hurd came up to upend him. Remember, those 15 yards include 14 yards lost in sacks or recovered fumbles.
Here's your safety blitz, and able to dive through is Ivory Hurd, but there is a flag. He tried to time up the snap.
I think that in hustling up like that, I think that they got a motion penalty for the offensive line move when they saw Hurd coming.
Tripping, offense, number 56, 15-yard penalty, replay, second down.
Big one there by Keenan Stevens, and you mentioned, Todd, earlier, a heavily penalized team of Dan Hawkins a year ago, and it's a heavily penalized offensive line in this game. 7 penalties for 68 yards, and 4 of them have been called on the O-line.
Take a look at the center. There's Stevens. Look at the right leg right there. Even though he trips him, Hurd's still able to make the play. Great effort on the part of number 35 for Colorado State.
Little confusion for the Rams on defense. And popped as the catch is made by Kyle Cefalo. Elijah Blue Smith, who's been kind of quiet today, laying the lumber from his safety spot.
That's one of the things that Elijah Blue does best. Elijah Blue Smith, last year second in the team with 74 tackles and had 3 picks. Also had 8 passes defensed. Solid safety there for the Rams, number 22.
3rd down and 9 in a Ram defense that desperately needs to get off the field. And again, the ball thrown behind the intended receiver. Hansen was trying to get it to Patterson.
Well, you're being kind, James. That's the ball that he's got to catch. You got to make an adjustment with your body. Sure, it's thrown behind you, but not way behind you. Take a look at the ball as it whistles through his hands. You got to make that adjustment once you come downfield. Take a look. He slows down right there, motors down. Got to motor down a little bit more than that and make the catch. If I'm Hansen, I'm a little bit frustrated because that's definitely a catchable ball.
Gerard Momo Thomas at his own 10. The return is on. Not a very good kick for Grossnickel, but they do get one heck of a bounce. Forced to field it and trickle out of bounds. Momo Thomas, a 45-yard punt for Grossnickel. Can the Rams do anything offensively? We'll find out next. With 7:39 left in the 3rd quarter, we welcome you back to Invesco Field for the Cinch Jeans Rocky Mountain Showdown presented by Xfinity in beautiful HD. All day long, our HD coverage brought to you by Ultimate Electronics, the ultimate in low prices. Colorado Buffalo fans having a little fun in the sun so far in this one. Their CU boys are leading by 17 over the rival Colorado State Rams here on opening weekend in college football 2010. Here's Pete Thomas, the true freshman. Hooks up, no whistle, but a ball pops out.
No, both line judges came. That was enough.
Forward progress had been stopped for quite some time.
Yeah. But you know what? If you're a defender, you got to do it. Stranger things have happened. James, during my playing days, in fact, at Mile High, which used to be just down the road, yeah, it's a fumble, but he stopped. He stopped right here. Marcus Allen had a similar circumstance, almost identical to that, and nobody on the field would call it. No one on the field would call it, and so he says, no, don't worry about it. We'll go up to the booth. We'll take care of it. Well, of course, up in the booth, how do you gauge forward progress being stopped?
Right.
And son of a gun, if they didn't give it to them, because somebody had picked it up and got in for a touchdown, they gifted the Broncos with a touchdown there, whatever the year was. I can't remember. It was so long ago. You know, I spiked my leather helmet. I was so ticked off over that.
So Hawkins is obviously upset, and this would be a huge play if it could go down as a turnover. But again, just like you're talking about, how do you review forward progress? Right. Now, you could review no whistle blown, but at the same time, the forward
there
progress.
Is no timeout. The rolling in progress cannot be challenged.
Exactly. Thank you. Hey, what?
So here's Matt Yem on the reception. And he continues to fight, but...
Well, he's not really fighting. He's just holding on. And so right about there is where it stopped. And I think what some of the people are beefing about is usually in that situation you've got 3 or 4 guys and there's the token stripping of the ball. But in this case there was only 1 guy.
You can't review forward progress, period, though. So Hawkins can complain all he wants, but it's not a reviewable play. So we play football and it's a 2nd down and 1, a nice situation, and one that Pete Thomas and the Rams haven't been in a lot today. There's the draw, same result for the running game of the Rams. Tyler Alice, the linebacker, in there to stuff Raymond Carter.
And here's the thing you don't like to see. The CSU line, you saw it in both situations. You had Richburg and McDermott arguing amongst themselves as to which was where. And the rushing yards today, that's very, very unlike Colorado State, less than 2 yards a carry.
Biggest play of the game for this Ram offense. They've got to get a first down. Hit as he lets it go. Pete Thomas, incomplete pass, and the Buff defense stands one more time.
This is the problem when you can't establish a running game. Colorado knew that they weren't going to run here on 3rd down and 2 after not getting it on 2nd and 1, and so they come with their ears back and they're able to get some pressure on Thomas and force the errant throw. You can see, look at the white shirts. They're not respecting the run at all. They're just taking off and going after the quarterback. Interesting to note too, James, that 1.5 yards per carry, that's without sacks now. Usually you get those bad numbers, it's because of the sacks that pulled him down. Pete Thomas hasn't been sacked today.
And this doesn't help. Kondodiakis sends one off the side of his foot, and it will not make it to midfield. It will right at the 50 is where they'll spot it. And we can see from our Dactyl Cam, aerial coverage provided by Dactyl Cam, a unique flying camera system based right here in Denver. Visit Dactyl Cam's website at dactylcam.com or find them on Facebook. So just a 31-yard punt. That Dactyl Cam has seen a lot of big X Games type events around here. So Patterson doesn't get the ball on the punt return, but he does on the end around, and making him pay is the safety Ivory Hurd.
That was interesting. Hurd and Blue Smith, similar physiques. You know, 5'11", somewhere between 195 and 205. I had a teammate who recently passed away. I followed the name of Jack Tatum, and I'm not saying that he's Jack by any stretch. But, of course, those hits look that much better when you're airborne, don't they?
So here's the 2nd and 6. Again, cutting before reaching the line of scrimmage and picking up 3 this time, the junior Rodney Stewart.
Looked like Hurd had him dead to rights in the backfield, but again, we talk about the difficulty of this smallish back. Was it you or I that used the word vertically challenged? I guess it was me, the 2 words vertically challenged. Got over 50 yards rushing now.
Four-man rush, and right underneath comes the receiver, Scotty McKnight, for a first down. Just too easy for Tyler Hansen, the 4-man rush that was easily picked up by the big offensive lineman for CU.
And McKnight does a nice job of winding down. Sometimes you have receivers that just sprint through and are out of control. McKnight, a veteran receiver, comes over the middle of the field at about 2/3, 3/4 speed, able to maintain himself, slow down, and make a catch for the first.
5 catches now for McKnight, who earlier today became the all-time leading receiver in CU history. Tony Clemens making a few guys miss. The transfers having a good time right now, both Clemens and Patterson.
A lot of frustration on the part of Ricky Brewer because he was not fooled. This took a long time to develop. Now watch number 56 penetrate, just can't quite get him. There's a block and another missed tackle. And Clemens does a nice job of showing some athleticism and making some people miss. You know, James, there's a situation in the game. You know, Lombardi was famous for his line about blocking and tackling. Clearly today, Colorado has blocked and tackled better than Colorado State.
There's the blitz. And good play call as it's picked up. Rodney Stewart takes advantage of a block outside by his wide receiver, Will Jefferson, and looks to have almost enough yardage for a first down.
One of the things that he's very effective in once he gets to the outside, take a look at the blocks downfield that he gets. Watch the left of your screen. People keep blocking. Look at this. Look at the receiver still blocking, Look at that. And again, the receiver outside still blocking, even though he ends up making the tackle. A lot of times you get those receivers a little bit lazy, you know, let it go, but they hung with their guys, and as a result, another first down for the Buffs.
Screen set up to Rodney Stewart. Big old block up front. Stewart wanted the end zone, but he won't quite get there. It will be a fresh set of downs, and the ball inside the 5-yard line. And Ryan Miller, the junior from right here in Littleton, Colorado, Columbine High School.
The evolution of the screen pass is interesting. You know, before you only did it in certain parts of the field. Now you can do it all over the place. Watch all the bodies that end up going to the right. Now watch to the left. Very few green shirts, and in fact, you could say that you could argue that he should have scored, except he got tripped up by the shoe. But first and goal for Colorado.
Back formation, and still Stewart stops short of the goal line, so it's second down and goal from inside the 1.
We talked earlier about being critical of Raymond Carter not going north and south. There's a situation where even though you're not the big bruising back, it's only 1 yard, and you got to be going north and south. Go east and west, that gives them an opportunity to stop you. I'm actually surprised Stewart's still in the game.
Hansen will keep this one to himself. And powering through that defensive front, the Buff offensive line, another touchdown for CU.
Stevens, Adkins, and Solder, they go to that left side again when they need the yardage. Two touchdowns throwing for Hansen, and now a touchdown running.
There's the dactyl cam shot of Goodman's extra point. 3 of those in a 28-yard field goal this afternoon. And all smiles for everybody but that dude, Tyler Hansen, over on the sidelines.
You know, it's interesting, one of the stats that they have now in college football is touchdowns responsible for. You can actually give Hansen credit for that tremendous fake in being responsible and setting up this touchdown. And of course, we talked about the left side of the offensive line just powering over the Colorado State defenders, enabling Hansen to get the 6 points.
It's an offensive line blocking for Rodney Stewart and Tyler Hansen that last year played with a freshman and 3 sophomores. They allowed 44 sacks. Now they've got some years underneath them, and it's supposed to be a solid unit, and they've performed well in this one.
Remind me, a little playfulness going on, which you can afford that luxury when you're up 24 points. Who is the coach that said the thing about birthdays? We need to get him some birthdays.
Joe Glenn.
That's right,
Cowboy Joe.
Cowboy Joe.
Who actually will join us in the studio.
Very nice.
It'll be fun to see Joe Glenn, who's been down in Phoenix, Arizona. Out of
coaching. Dave Christensen did a great job with those Wyoming Cowboys, taking over for Glenn and taking the Pokes to a bowl game, although they were picked to finish 9th in the conference last year. Wyoming didn't have a fun day in Boulder last season. They got beat by these Buffs. Along with Todd Christensen and Roger Bailey, I'm James Bates. Glad to have you with us here in the Mile High City and Invesco Field. The Rocky Mountain Showdown, presented by Xfinity and Cinch Jeans. It's always fun when these two teams get together, and CSU's got to do something to stop the bleeding. Under 2 minutes to play in the third quarter. And starting the true freshman, Pete Thomas, they haven't been able to do anything. And Raymond Carter has been the back all day long. Not much there for him, so they'll go to John Mosier, who was the feature back last year. He'll stay in the block. And Ponga is popped as he catches it. No gain on that reception.
One of the things that Steve Fairchild has to be concerned with his young quarterback is it's a long season. And here's a situation where obviously they're going to be white-knuckled going after the quarterback. So this can't be a 5-7 step drop every time back. He can't expose this youngster too soon.
Nice throw and catch right there. The freshman goes to Byron Steele, his third catch of the day. A first down, slow to get up. May have landed awkwardly, and he will need a replacement. Coach Dan Hammerschmidt of Colorado State, the wide receiver coach, said if Byron Steele, if he gets it, it's all over. He could be the best that we have, and he's shown flashes, just wants them to put together a full game. There's another completion for Yem, and about a 6-yard pickup on first down.
Well, as the third quarter winds down, James, this is where you get some experience. If you're the young quarterback, not everything's going to go your way.
Stands in there strong. Thomas was popped as he let it go. Complete to Mosier. Mosier's got a first down and across midfield and above territory.
This is a nice job by Thomas for this reason, James. As soon as he saw the guy, he didn't panic and just throw it out there. He waited to the last minute to get clobbered. And this is sometimes a pass that a quarterback doesn't do particularly well. He led him perfectly. So Mosier was able to keep his speed and get to the outside. Sometimes they have to stop and hesitate or catch it behind them, and the gain isn't the same. And that time he was able to lead Mosier just right and enable him to get the first.
So 61,000 here to watch Pete Thomas in his debut, but it's been all Colorado. One.
Well, the yin and yang of Thomas's day is he's been doing some things poorly, but also he's been doing some things very well. Watch how he hangs in the pocket when McKay comes on the blitz. Right at the last minute, look at that. He leads him perfectly. So many times that ball can get thrown behind or thrown straight at him, but he hangs in there, takes the hit, enables Mosier to make the first down. I've been impressed with his poise despite the fact that there have been an awful lot of bodies around him, James.
Oh, he goes firing again. This time it's picked off. Anthony Perkins, the safety, eyed the freshman quarterback from release to pick, and it's Colorado ball.
I believe the phrase was yin and yang. Right after we compliment Thomas, he throws this ball. He looks downfield. There's a situation, you know how you talk all the time about not looking right at the receiver. In this case, you need to do that. That's a tremendous athletic play, as you pointed out, James, by Whittier cutting across. But Thomas has to see that defender right there, and he did not. He was looking the free safety way, trying to make a distraction. In that case, he's got to look right at the receiver.
Third interception for the Buff defense today, and they try to set up a screen. Big Nate Solder And the big wheels churning, trying to get out there and set up a nice block for Will Jefferson, but pass goes incomplete, so it's 2nd down and 10.
And that's a good thing to see right there. The guy that knocks him down is Michael Sisson. Remember earlier in the game, he went out with a leg cramp back on the field. Very good news for the Ram faithful.
Still looks to be hobbled a little bit, as you well know, Todd. You don't get quite 100% till Tuesday, even on a cramp. It feels like you got a knot in there. They're asking number 6 to come out and make a big play right now. He's done that throughout his career, a freshman All-American. Trying to step up and set the edge on the screen, does just that to help out the safety, Elijah Blue Smith. And Brian Lockridge is the recipient of that pass. Lockridge scored a touchdown, the first touchdown scored against Colorado State in Boulder last year on a similar type play. $12 yards to go for the first down. The freshman Gilmore gives chase, and they finally get him. Tyler Hansen is in the grass, and it'll be 4th down and long as a much-needed sack comes for the Ram defense.
Well, Hansen's been around the block a little bit longer, and he trusts his athletic ability as well he should. But he also has that clock in his head, and he needs to know that at some point he's got to get rid of that ball. Took a little bit too long in that circumstance, and Gilmore, the converted tight end, a true freshman, is able to make the tackle.
A lot of new faces at that defensive end spot. We've made a big deal about the quarterback, but Davis Burrow, Broderick Sargent, and Crockett Gilmore right there on that defensive front for the Rams. Here's Grossnickel, and the play clock expired, so back it up.
Delay game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
You know, I'm anxious to see what he opts for this time. The last time, James, you know, after being unsuccessful with the rugby punts, he decided to go, you know, straight, and he shanked it a little bit, but ended up getting a 45-yard net out at the 10. This is
return on all the way from Momo Thomas, and it's another short one. And this one, wow, a bounce that Thomas took a big chance with. It may have gone another 10, but still dodging a big-time bullet, a 43-yard punt. Rams still trying to score with 13:10 left in the game. Pure joy back in 2004 in Boulder for the Buffs. Bobby Purify rushing for 189 yards and a touchdown for the Buffs. And of course, Green Bay Packer now, but Mason Crosby, so many of those big shots for the Buffaloes. A 55-yard field goal to snap a 17-17 tie with 6:43 remaining in the 4th quarter. 27-24, 7 of the last 10 games have been decided by a touchdown or less. And as we look at our Rocky Mountain Showdown flashback, brought to you by Cinch Jeans, we've got your jeans. 2004, 2005, and then last year, this game was held at Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado, right there, nestled up against the Flatirons, and it'll stay right here in Invesco until 2019. So a first down for the Rams now as we go under 13 minutes to play. In the first half, we saw some John Mosier, but it's Raymond Carter, the lone back into the ball game for Colorado State. Thomas with the boot. Good job by the linebackers of picking up Ponga. He's looking for the fullback. He tucks it and goes, kind of like his mom, who was an All-American sprinter at San Diego State for the Aztecs in her college days. Actually, a father that was a quarterback for the Aztecs, too.
The one thing that Pete Thomas isn't feeling today in his first game, he's not quite understanding the speed of the game, and he doesn't necessarily have a feel for people downfield. That's about the 3rd time now where he's taken a shot like that. And he can't take 3 shots a game like that if he's going to survive the season, but he'll get better. And as I say, he'll get a feel for the speed of the game as the season wears on.
Here's a counter play that Steve Fairchild has grown to love, but not if you get 1 or 2 yards. Linebackers in there like Sapili, and that guy, John Major, has been fantastic in his first start here this year, the redshirt sophomore from Parker, Colorado. We saw B.J. Beatty make some plays. We're used to him making plays, but they actually started Alice and Major and Sapili. It was 3 new starters at linebacker for Brian Cabral, the linebacker associate head coach for the Colorado Buffaloes. And a reverse this time, and some blocks downfield, and Tony Drake, a youngster out of Dallas that was originally heading to Michigan, changed his mind. And Fairchild and company high on him throughout camp, hits his first carry.
The native of Dallas and Skyline High School brings a little speed to the Rams as he gets to the outside, then puts on a burst. Major does a nice job of getting him out of bounds. Look downfield to get a nice block by the receivers. Of course, right there you can see him jumping the block. That takes him out of the play, but Drake makes a nice gain on the reverse for the Rams.
Xfinity bringing you your replays today. Xfinity only from Comcast. A flag down and a big mess as Lou Greenwood, who was a running back last year, has been moved to wide receiver this year on the carry.
Illegal motion. Offense, number 11. That penalty is declined.
Well, that was a brand new play, a little misdirection for Greenwood. And Fairchild wants an explanation for that. But of course, if you're Colorado, it's a yard loss, so you'll take the down at this point and let the clock run.
Second and 11. Slips one tackle, but able to just get a yard out of it. Todd, obviously with 10:30 in a series, a rivalry that has always gone to the wire, this game is far from over. But big picture for number 4 for Colorado State, you just want to have him feeling okay coming out of his first start and get a little bit of positive juice going by scoring a touchdown or 2.
As we've said, he's done a number of good things, but you also run the risk, as we mentioned earlier, these guys are white-knuckled now, James. They know that Colorado State's ineffective running the ball. They're coming after the youngster.
There's the blitz, short pass.
Well, I'm anticipating that this is 4-down territory anyway, because with less than 10 minutes left,
Raymond Carter on the reception. He's upset as he'll be replaced, and it is Ben DeLine as they will attempt a field goal.
Shows how much I know.
Ball will be placed at the 33, a 42-yard try for the junior from Steamboat Springs. Had one blocked earlier today. Nobody gets a paw on this one, and get the goose egg off the board with a 43-yard kick. Ben DeLine, it's 24-3, 9:36 left to play.
Mountain College football is brought to you by Dodge. Live life to the fullest. Dodge, grab life. By Jeep, the most award-winning brand of 4x4s ever. Check out the entire lineup at Jeep.com. By Cinch Jeans, we've got your jeans. By Ultimate Electronics, the ultimate in low prices. And by McDonald's. McDonald's has your college tailgating plans covered. For a limited time, you can pick up a 50-piece Chicken McNuggets for only $9.99. I'm loving it.
Well, Buff fans loving it here in Invesco Field. Their Colorado Buffaloes up by 21. Was 24-0. Interesting call to kick the field goal there, Todd. You don't really give yourself that much of a fighting chance here as we're now at 9:30 left in the game. But 4th and 7 is tough, too.
A couple of reasons, I think, for that. One is that evidently 4th and 7, probably not makeable. And also, you want to give your kicker some confidence. He hit a 43-yard. Remember earlier in the game, he got it blocked. You don't want that to be the last thing in your head going into the next game. So he punches through a 43-yarder. And if you want to be really, really sanguine, i.e. overly optimistic,
I do.
You do? You want to?
Yes,
okay.
please.
We got to get that field goal to tie it up, right?
Yep.
The next 3 possessions will get touchdowns, but in this one we get the field goal.
That's very sanguine.
It is.
Well, nonetheless, it won't be a shutout in this rivalry. We remind you that Ram Post Game Live coming at you next. The boys over in our studio on the spot here at Invesco, and Brian Lockridge trying to get a piece of the action. The other junior, you mentioned, Todd, the scat back type build of these guys. We watched Rodney Stewart throughout the game at 5'6", and here's, Lockridge is huge. He's 5'7".
Oh, he's a monster. You know, the one downside of this, and I understand the thinking in this particular offense, you want to have quick guys, you want to have guys that can make catches down the field, make people miss. But what you gain in that, you lose in terms of zone blocking, protecting the quarterback on blitzes. And, of course, these aren't the same kind of guys that can carry the ball 25, 30 times a game either.
Scotty McKnight in motion. Nobody there to block Alex Williams. It didn't matter as the quick release for Hansen, and a pickup of about 7. It'll bring up 3rd down and short.
McKnight made one too many moves. He moved to the right and he was wide open, but he had his back turned. And then he moved back and ran right into the tackler.
So 0 for 3 this half on 3rd down. These Buffaloes 3 of 9 in the game.
Well, that's certainly something to build on for Colorado State, isn't it?
Struggles well documented a year ago. One of the worst teams in the nation when it came to getting off the field. Here they've got to stuff the Buffs. Only 2 yards to go. And Lockridge spins and still maybe about a ½ yard shy. Hold it steady now, Kevin. I'm reading about you. Today's Sideline Steadicam coverage brought to you by DenverSteadicam.com. We appreciate the hard work. It's hot down there, over 90 degrees.
0 for 4 now in the second half for 3rd down conversions for the Colorado State defense. Excellent penetration as we see the hard work. You know, maybe in the first quarter you would have jumped up and down and been really animated, but after carrying that thing for 4 quarters, like, he's gassed.
I like the sweatbands. Lock on this time for the Rams, and Grossnickel off the side. Boy, they've gotten some great bounces for the Buffaloes, and there to field it again is Momo Thomas. 41-yard kick, 6-yard return, and one more chance for the Rams when we return. Here's your Domino's delivery of the game. Scotty McKnight, the delivery of the game brought to you by Domino's. We want everyone to try the inspired pizza. Get 2 medium, 2-topping pizzas for just $5.99. Hey, you eat whatever you want tonight, Scotty McKnight. 27-yard touchdown reception, and in doing so, he became the all-time receptions leader, passing Michael Westbrook in Colorado Buffalo football history. Congratulations to Scotty, our Domino's delivery of the game. Oh, here's Tony Drake, and a little tug out of bounds. Got to be careful. Jimmy Smith, who was flagged earlier.
Do you remember what Michael Westbrook is best known for?
The Hail Mary.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you what, that might have been the longest throw I may have seen in college football. Wasn't that thing like 70-some yards in the air? Cordell Stewart just aired that out. My goodness.
1st and 10 line brought to you by Remax, the sign you want, the agent you need. They'd like to reset that Remax line right now. And wow, right through the hands of Tyson Liggett, the senior. Well, it doesn't get a whole lot easier for Dan Hawkins. They've got to go to Cal. Then it'll be the first game at home this year against Hawaii. And the Georgia Bulldogs, 21st ranked team in the nation, comes in on October 2nd at Missouri, and a Baylor Bear squad that is very good. They continue to improve every single year. Maybe, I'll bet you Brian Cabral will wear that lava wrap for that Hawaii game.
Well, Leonard Mason, who had such a nice game last year, over 100 yards against the Buffs in 2009, gets his first carry of the game here in the fourth quarter. I have to tell you, as I was looking at that schedule, though, James, how ticked off do you have to be? We got home. We're playing Hawaii? What, at home? What, at home? Come on.
Oh, isn't that the truth?
Yeah. Come on, man. Get us to the islands.
Yeah, you saw the shot of B.J. Beatty right there. He wanted to go back to the North Shore, Kahuku High School. Red Raider for life, the senior linebacker. Blitzing down low, picked up. Two other guys aren't. Pete Thomas able to slip it, but a great hustle play by Forrest West.
Well, if you're a defensive lineman, this is the most fun you can have. Up by 3 touchdowns, you know that they've got to throw. You don't have to worry about the run. Put the white knuckles down and off you go.
There's Beatty.
But when they, you know what, James, when they recount this game defensively, you know, yes, they pressured the young quarterback. Yes, they forced 3 interceptions. But I think the thing that's going to stand out just immensely here is the less than 20 yards rushing that Colorado State has accrued.
Wow. Catching the ball in traffic, no flags thrown, and able to fall right back down on top of it. Trayvon Patterson, a 43-yard punt. That's where those start. Time for our McDonald's player of the game. Well, how about Tyler Hansen? Doing it with his legs and through the air as well. The junior making his 10th start for the Colorado Buffaloes. Player of the game brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's has your college tailgating plans covered for a limited time. You can pick up a 50-piece Chicken McNuggets for only $9.99. I'm loving it. And you got to be loving it if you're a Buff fan. The fact that Hansen has a lot of room for improvement, and this will be a good tape to learn off of.
Having said that, I want to give credit where credit is due. Scott Zick is the guy that you're looking for that put the lick there on Patterson there on that punt.
Rams continue to play hard, and now this has got to be a little bit frustrating for Colorado. They've eased off the gas quite a bit, and we showed you that schedule of what's coming up, and again, the cramps have really seemed to have bothered Sisson.
Yeah, but look at the effort that he makes. He comes from the backside. He comes from the backside on that play, and usually you don't block the backside because the guy doesn't hustle or run that well. Sisson does. I mean, he tackles the guy from the backside for a 3-yard gain, despite the fact that, as you said, he has those physical woes.
Well, and it's not just the limp that would scare me, it's the way he's carrying that right shoulder. Look, a stinger maybe. Brian Lockridge is popped as he gets back to the line of scrimmage, so a 3rd down and long here.
And
there's Sisson again. You see him back
in the
there.
tackle. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that might be wise to give him a blow here at this point. That's one thing that Larry Kerr talked to us about, is he had some depth at linebacker. And number 6 they have to have for every game this season. They really need him.
Well, we saw one of the bright spots, and not a whole lot of them for Larry Kerr's defense. Micah Rackbo on the blitz. So 1 of 5 this half now on 3rd down. And Hansen wants a timeout as he was looking at 3rd down and 7. 3:53 remaining now in this ball game. Well, for Colorado State, they've gotten the best of the Nevada Wolfpack, who has accepted an invitation to join the Mountain West Conference down the road, still a part of the WAC and still with, unfortunately, if you're a Ram, Colin Kaepernick, one of the best quarterbacks in the land. Going to Miami, tough, through 3 quarters of play. They held the Florida Gators this afternoon in the swamp to only 25 yards of total offense. Idaho, no slouch. Colorado State and San Diego State found that out last year. Well, we all know about the TCU Horned Frogs. They've got a big one this weekend with the Oregon State Beavers and at Air Force in a big rivalry game.
No gimmies on that schedule. And you're right about Idaho. Winning the Humanitarian Bowl last year, remember that? That was fun. Good game.
And when all these teams scheduled Idaho, it looked pretty good, didn't it?
Good call.
You know, and Todd, you start to think, gosh, this is probably going to go down here as a 10th loss in a row for Colorado State. Got to find a way to stop the bleeding. Here's what you got after the timeout. Oh, and a good defensive play here by Sisson. Cramps or no cramps, He's right in the hip pocket of a speedy receiver, Scotty McKnight.
You got to respect number 6. I mean, he's man for man. Number 6 here on the corner out. Man for man with a wide receiver. Gets the arm in there. Just a terrific play by Sisson. And obviously you can see that his body is compromised. That shows a lot of courage. That's a wherewithal. That's a man.
May I please, can we switch chairs for a second? You know what I liked about it linebacker-wise?
Sure.
McKnight had a couple steps on him. He didn't peek. He put his head down, and he just went.
Good point.
Watch those hands go up, and then he swatted at the ball. Great linebacker play. Oh, and here's a big flag. As Momo Thomas may have gotten a short neck on that one, a 35-yard punt. Well, there early was the punt cover team.
Again, if you're Colorado State looking for positives, you know, if you're Thomas and you're down by 3 touchdowns, it's easy to say, you know what, I'm just going to let this roll. What's the big deal? He comes in there. It's a ball that he probably should have fair caught. But instead, he shows the courage to hang in there, gets absolutely clobbered, and it's going to be an additional 15 yards for the Rams.
Interference with the opportunity to catch the kick. Kicking team, number 32, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Paul Vigo, the backup cornerback, and let's watch it from the dactyl cam.
Now, so many times you have your gunner who's trying to time it just perfectly. But in that case, clearly he was early. And I tell you what, Thomas shows some toughness bouncing up after that.
The 10th penalty for 103 yards for CU today. Trying to set up the screen. Great job to go get it, Mosier. John Mosier had to one-hand it, pulled it back in, and got about 8.
Now Colorado State goes with the no huddle.
Eugene Gorey. Hey, a Tennessee guy. I like it. Todd. Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
How far is that from Sevierville?
Murfreesboro is, if I'm not mistaken, it's quite a ways over. It's
if you're not mistaken, it's your home state.
Well, I live in East Tennessee. It's a long state.
Gotcha.
Oh, Matt Yem can't pull that one in, and on a 3rd down and 5 would have moved the chains. It'll be a 4th down, and let's take a look back out of town. Your out-of-town scoreboard brought to you by RE/MAX. The sign you want, the agent you need. Great start for Kyle Whittingham and his Utah Utes. Overtime victory over Pitt and 42-0 Oregon all over Mike Loxley, and a promised new product for the Lobos in just the 2nd quarter. UNLV will take on a tough Wisconsin team later on this evening. Here's 4th down, and there's the Kahuku Red Raider. B.J. Beatty to shut things down.
Certainly Pete Thomas envisioned a better day, but there will be better days for that youngster. You know, we talk a lot about the camps and everything else that some of these freshmen come in with, and that, you know, that they're not as young as they once were, but still it's Division I football. That's a big change from the speed of high school to Division I football. I don't care who you are.
Byron Beatty, the father of BJ, was a linebacker for the Cougars of BYU in the 1980s. So here's your 1st down and 10 now. In the game to take the handoff, still in this Tyler Hansen. But the man of steel is the new guy in town. Trayvon Patterson, the Steel man of the game. Brought to you by Steel. To find the full line of dependable Steel outdoor power equipment, see your local servicing Steel dealer or visit steeldealers.com. Doing it on special teams and through the air from his wide receiver position as well. With a 5'9", 175-pound senior, a transfer from USC who took advantage of that no penalty rule laid out by the NCAA for upperclassmen at USC that wanted to transfer and have a chance at playing in a bowl game. And if the Buffs can keep this type of play up, Trayvon may get just that at season's end. He will graduate this year and be the first to graduate in his family, but he'll use his 4 credits from Colorado and take him back to USC, where he'll receive his diploma.
You know, you mentioned Torres earlier, who just ran for the first down. He's the lone exception in terms of the tailbacks and their dimensions. He's 6 foot 215, so they do have the one bruiser.
Leans forward for about 3 or 4. You know, it's hard. You put the body type aside, it's hard not to call Rodney Stewart a bruiser. Just the way he runs, a hard slasher. He puts his hat down and runs with a low pad level. He was fun to watch in the first half.
No, he's fun to watch, but 5'6", 175, still called bruiser? I guess we have different interpretations of that word.
Just trying to give the little big man some credit.
No. He's a tough guy, no doubt. Had a terrific game, too.
And there's JT bruising right along. We remind you that this copyrighted telecast of the Mountain West Conference is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience, and any retransmission, reproduction, rebroadcast, or other use or dissemination of this telecast or the pictures, descriptions, or accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Mountain West Conference is prohibited. And that is not a happy Colorado State sideline right now, only managing 3 points against their fierce rivals from right down the road in Boulder.
Not very happy either about a timeout being called.
Who called the timeout, Todd? Did Colorado call the timeout?
I think Colorado State did.
Well, careful. Rick Neuheisel, Colorado fans know oh so well. He called a late timeout. If it is Colorado State, he called a late timeout against the USC Trojans in that big rivalry game last year.
Right.
And Matt Barkley went up top to add on 7 more. Pad still popping down there as Eugene Daniels delivers what should be the final blow of this ball game. Pretty big win, Todd, for Dan Hawkins and these Buffaloes. 3-9 last year, and you mentioned it off the top. The seats don't get any hotter than they are underneath that young man right there.
Well, you could argue that if you look back on the 2009 season, including this opener, this may be the best defense that they've played since 2008. The defense for Colorado was dominant, a veteran defense. We talked about the secondary, the birthdays that now have been garnered by the people up front. They just did a tremendous job completely shutting down that Ram running game.
Hawkins and Steve Fairchild. Fairchild, part of this rivalry as an assistant coach for a long time, but thanks to the hiatus, he didn't get to play in this one and is now 1-2 against the rival from colorful Colorado. So it'll be an 0-1 start, and looking down the barrel of Colin Kaepernick and the Nevada Wolfpack for Colorado State as the Colorado Buffaloes get a big win out the gate to start the 2010 college football season.
And there's our player of the game, Hansen. But again, there's going to be many, many more days for Thomas. I don't think he absolutely can't hang his head. He understands what happens. You know, it's not a one-man situation. You lose as a team, you win as a team. I think that number 4, there are a lot of things about him that you got to like. Most definitely, I think, for me today, was his courage in hanging in the pocket.
Really enjoyed the play of the linebacking unit. You know, much attention put on, and justifiably so, for Colorado State, but it was the Colorado Buffalo linebackers, John Major, Michael Sapili, And B.J. Beatty got in there, but Tyler Alice made the start. They did an excellent job against, this is a running attack. That's the kind of game a linebacker likes. And they stepped up behind a good defensive line. And, of course, Scotty McKnight broke a record of Michael Westbrook with catch number 168 and added a couple more to it today. Has more catches than anybody in Colorado Buffalo football history.
6 for 78, and he had a touchdown as well.
And it's 171, the total number right there. P.J. Beatty, the senior linebacker.
Was your hair ever that long?
No, and it was never that red either.
Okay. That's no, we're not doing that.
John Sullivan.
I'm afraid I did have it that long for a period of time.
Yeah, but see, the difference between you and Beatty is you had a lot of product in your hair.
Exactly.
He's just natural. He's got the
chemicals.
eyelids.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
The soul glow?
Yeah. Is it J-H-E-R-I? Jerry Curl. Yeah, that's
Did
what
you
I'm
have
talking
seat
about.
covers too?
Yeah, when I got up, it was just terrible. The back of the seat, just awful.
You and Easy E, huh?
That's right. Kathy, can I lay in your lap? No.
Hey, you're down with all those guys. I saw you on the 30 for 30 talking about Straight Out of L.A., the documentary. Very entertaining, you and NWA and the whole Compton posse.
Yeah. Me and my crew.
Well, that'll do it from Invesco. Hope you enjoyed our broadcast today. We certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. Specialized statistical information provided by Stats for you. Next Saturday, we've got a double header. It's UNLV at Utah at 2 o'clock, and Texas Tech heads to the Duke City to take on the Lobos of New Mexico at 6. For Roger Bailey and Todd Christensen and our entire Mountain West sports broadcasting team, I'm James Bates. We'll see you next time. Post-Game Live is coming at you next. This has been a production of The Mountain.
And welcome to Xfinity Live at the stadium, the post-game show. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Dolman, along with Ted Sundquist and Bo Morgan. Great to have you with us. Thanks for sticking around. Colorado defeats Colorado State today 24-3. A dominant first-half performance. The Buffs got all the momentum in the world in the first 30 minutes. Held on for the victory. A very satisfying win, no doubt, for Dan Hawkins and his Buffs. And unfortunately for Steve Fairchild and the Rams, they've now lost 10 in a row, and they've got a tough road in the non-conference season. But what do you take from this game, Ted?
Well, the first thing that jumped out at me was the superior athleticism of the CU Buffs. Their playmakers stepped up. That wide receiver trio of Patterson, McKnight, Clemens made some big plays. We talked about it in the pregame show that they had to catch the ball and then make some yards after the catch. They did just that. I was also impressed with running back Rodney Stewart, his ability to make some things happen as well.
Take a look at the final stats of this one, and Colorado has the edge in total yards. Neither really ran the ball all that well, but I guess Colorado ran it somewhat more efficiently than did CSU. But there's one thing in this game that is really going to stand out to Dan Hawkins. He's going to be very happy about the win, and he may not even care about those 10 penalties because he's so desperate for a win at CU. But 10 penalties, that certainly is something for concern. The turnovers by Colorado State and a few ill-timed plays, ill-called plays, that really doomed them in the first half especially.
Well, I tend to look at a game in terms of number of opportunities. You know, you get X amount of series per half, and that's what you get. I think the bottom line with this game, CU created better opportunities for themselves. Of their 4 scoring drives, so to speak, 3 of those occurred at about midfield. They started about midfield. They had the nice 82-yard drive, which was their 4th of the game in the first half. But other than that, because of the turnovers their defense created and the big stop on 4th down, really gave them a jump start offensively, something I thought CSU was going to have to do before the game, and they just never could.
Yeah, you talk about the short field on one particular scoring drive for Colorado. You go way back to the 3rd drive of the game, I believe it was, when Colorado State went for it on 4th down in its own territory, failed to get it, and Colorado took it in for the touchdown. Well, Colorado wins it, and to the victors go the spoils, and the spoils being the trophy that goes with winning the Rocky Mountain Showdown.
Momentum. Was there any time during the game that you didn't think you had momentum today?
Well, we were kind of sloppy there and had chances to kind of get going a little bit, particularly in the last quarter was
was pretty stagnant. I mean, I thought our defense played pretty stellar most of the day, and we just were a little sloppy at times on offense.
Well, you're a little young on the defensive line. How did they step up and impress you today?
Yeah, well, those guys are growing up a little bit. They did a nice job. You did a good job against the run. We got a few sacks, got a few turnovers. I mean, I think defensively probably a little more consistent than we did offensively the way through.
Now, naming Hansen quarterback about 10 days ago, do you think that calmed his nerves a little bit for today's big game?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, he's been basically there since spring, and, you know, he's been that way through camp, so I think he was fine.
All right, Coach Scotty McKnight, how good is he?
He's a great player. He really is. He's a baller and a great kid, and we're lucky to have him.
All right, Coach, congratulations. Enjoy.
That was Dan Hawkins with our own Roger Bailey. And to the Victors go an opportunity to be interviewed by Roger Bailey. Let's go back to the highlights of that first half. Here's one of the touchdowns that came off of that fourth down play.
Well, and Tyler Hansen really in the first half showed a lot of poise. There were times where he just needed to check down, didn't have the receiver open that he wanted to go to. That was a great play to Scotty McKnight for a record-setting touchdown there in the first half. But Hansen showed poise. A couple of times he used his feet, pulled the ball down, didn't make any mistakes to put Colorado in a bad situation in the first half.
How about the play of Pete Thomas, Ted?
Well, Pete Thomas impressed me with his poise in the pocket. They came after him pretty hard, especially in that second half. That's a big statured quarterback at 6'5". He can see down the field, and he took a lot of hits. You know, there's some plays there where the ball was away, and we didn't see the defensive, lineman coming into him, but he was picking himself up off the ground, kept competing throughout the game.
Yeah, you can see why they're excited about Pete Thomas at CSU. Not a great game statistically, made some mistakes, threw a couple of interceptions, but the bottom line is you can see that kid's got a lot of tools, and if he continues to improve and stays healthy, it's going to be a great career at CSU.
Did you see a game called for a true freshman quarterback as opposed to what we might see at a game that's called for Pete Thomas, say, next year as a junior?
I felt that CU's defense kind of dictated what Pete Thomas got today. One of the areas we didn't talk about very much was CU's secondary. And I think CSU was trying to get the ball downfield. There were some plays designed to try to take advantage of Thomas's ability to throw the football, but he was forced, like Bo said, to hit the checkoff guy or to find the receiver out in the flat. And then the defense came up for CU and did a great job of tackling. Not very many yards after the catch for the CSU Rams.
I think the most disappointing unit, if you look on both teams, was really the offensive line for CSU today. Last year they had a lot of returning starters. They were a veteran unit. The inexperience, I think they got exposed a little bit today. Never really got in a rhythm, never really got in sync. Weren't able to establish the run. You look at it and you see what CSU did offensively, and I think CU was really one step ahead of them. They called the right blitzes at the right time. It was just a frustrating day offensively for CSU all the way around.
Well, you knew that Colorado was going to try and put a lot of pressure on a true freshman quarterback, and they certainly did that with the athleticism, Ted, that you mentioned earlier. You saw the quarterback comparison between the two, and for a rookie out of the gate, those are pretty good numbers. Nothing spectacular, but 33 attempts. He did have those 3 interceptions. But all in all, how would you grade the way both of those guys performed, Tyler Hansen and Pete Thomas?
Well, I'd give Tyler Hansen an A just on poise alone and the way he controlled the football game in the first half, found those open receivers that we were talking about, let his playmakers make the plays. I felt like Pete Thomas for his first day out, 24 of 33, very impressive. But again, you see what CU's defense did, 196 total yards. They came up, made the tackles, kept that umbrella over the deep routes and forced him to dump the ball off in the shallow routes into the flat. And I think their defensive game plan obviously was just that. They were not afraid of CSU's receivers deep, and they were able to keep everything up.
Well, speaking of Tyler Hansen, he's with our Roger Bailey.
All right, Tyler, big game for you personally, but what would you guys were able to do coming here in preparation-wise?
We just executed. Our whole thing is just control what we can control, and today we did that. We didn't worry about them, we worried about us. So today it was real nice.
Well, you got to play pitch and catch with Scotty McKnight pretty much for the last couple of years. What does he mean to this offense?
He's awesome. He's just Mr. Consistent. He's a leader for us. When he goes, we go, and he's awesome. I love him.
How were you guys able to balance the run in the pass today against a pretty good CSU defense?
Yeah. We had a good game plan going in. Coach Keith had a really good rhythm, calling plays, and we just executed. That's the biggest thing. We executed.
All right, buddy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Were you surprised that Colorado State's defense, with 10 returning starters and Ricky Brewer coming back, was unable to put a lot of pressure on Tyler Hansen?
Yes, I was. To be quite honest with you, I felt like CSU, based on what you said, with the return of 10 starters, would bring a little bit more pressure on him. But that offensive line, and it's heralded now, they've got some good players up front, did a great job in the pocket, or creating the pocket. And there were a few times that Hansen knew when to pull that ball down, take it upfield, and make the yardage for himself.
He really had great protection all day long. And in the running game, that was a big question mark because CU was so poor running the football a year ago in the same ball game. But today, Rodney Stewart got things going. That offensive line with a couple of those guys really dominated the trenches today.
Well, one guy for Colorado that you always have to keep your eye on is Scotty McKnight. He's been fantastic since arriving in Boulder. He had a great day today with a touchdown catch, and Roger caught up with him after the game.
Let's get the personal statistics out of the way first. How important was for you to break the record, being CU's all-time leading receiver against your arch rival?
I think it was more important to other people. It's something that's really cool for me, and something that personally I think that I'll want to focus on more so after the season and down the line. But I was just worried about getting a win, to be honest. The catches came with it. So,
talk about the relationship between you guys. Played pitch and catch all day long. How comfortable were you with him being in the lineup today?
Oh, I mean, I loved having Tyler out there. Me and Tyler worked a ton this offseason, and it paid off. And there's still a ton we can clean up. We have not even come close to our peak as a football team, and there's so much work to be done. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
How good is this receiving core you guys have at CU?
I mean, we could be very, very good. I mean, you saw number 2 getting loose on punt returns, and he scored. I mean, Tony Clemens it's so deep that, we can stay fresh and we can make plays continuously all night.
How important was the revenge factor after what happened last year?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, it was important. We were juiced up, and I think there was an amount of disrespect involved last year with the game, with them rushing the field, and yeah, we thought about that.
All right, enjoy, buddy.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
What are you supposed to do when you win a game on your arch rival's home field? You got to do a little bit of celebrating. Well, here's how the Cinch Jeans Rocky Mountain Showdown presented by Xfinity. Look at the series now with the win. Colorado now has a commanding 60-20 and 2 edge. In Denver, though, it's still pretty tight, but the Bucs have the edge there, winning 6 of the last 10 meetings here. Fort Collins, Boulder, really doesn't matter where they play. CU has owned this series. They certainly owned it this year. We talk about McKnight. We talk about Tyler Hansen. You got the sense in listening to Scotty McKnight that Colorado had a pretty good idea that Hansen was going to be the guy coming into this year, even though there was that quarterback battle between him and Cody Hawkins, Dan Hawkins' son. But I think today we also saw the emergence of a Colorado running game. It's been kind of inconsistent the last couple of years, but if Rodney Stewart can be the guy and have a consistent performance game in and game out, that's going to really help CU.
It'll keep that pressure off of Hansen for sure, and allow him to get that ball to that tremendous receiving core that they've got with Patterson, Clemens, and McKnight. But I was impressed with the way Stewart ran the ball. He's got quick feet, very good change of direction, good vision. He found the backside cut a number of times. And then once he gets into the open field, he can make those defenders miss. And it appears to have pretty good open field speed to make the big play for him down the road.
Yeah, nice hands too. He had those 2 receptions deep in CSU territory, almost scored on the one. Rodney Stewart was impressive. If they're going to be competitive in the Big 12, they're going to have to run the football. Last year, they only completed about 52% of their passes. We're much better than that today, but certainly CU's offensive scheme is the kind that they've got to run the football because they don't like to throw a lot of the dinks. When they throw the football, they usually try to go down the field with it. So when you have that sort of an attack, you've got to be effective running the football, and they showed that today.
All right, it's time for us to take our first break here on Xfinity live at the stadium, post-game show. Well, the stadium has started to clear out quite a bit. A lot of green, a lot of black here in the stadium, but it's the gold of Colorado that shines brightest today. The Bucs beat the Rams by a score of 24-3. Much more coming your way on the mountain.
Post Game Live is brought to you by Ram. Award-winning Ram trucks, plus a new heavy duty, make it one of the most powerful lineups in Ram history.
And today's Live at the Stadium HD facilities are brought to you by Live Online TV, your national source for higher definition television. And welcome back to Dodge Ram Postgame Live with Ted Sundquist and Bo Morgan. I'm Bill Dolman. Colorado has defeated Colorado State today at Invesco Field. Final score 24-3. It's time to send you downstairs to the podium. Steve Fairchild is addressing the media.
Anticipated. I knew that offensively early on this season that's going to be the case. I truly expected to play a little better on offense than we did today, but that's why they're paying us to coach. We'll get to work and get that fixed.
So you seem to find some mismatches on your linebackers early on with receivers.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a nice job. They've got a quick back in there too that can be a little mismatch at times if he has some space. And Scotty McKnight's a good player. Right off the bat, we were in a nickel, in a man coverage, and he was on a safety and did a nice job. He's a very, very good inside receiver, and we knew that.
Seems like a few times the blocking was breaking down. Pete did a good job reading that extra gap.
Yeah, he did a nice job of knowing when to pull it down. He's got to protect himself a little bit better, but you can see he's got the ability. Don't get me wrong, he's not Vince Young, but he can, he make a little play with his feet now and then on that naked. I thought that was a nice decision by him. But this is more about Colorado. Dan Hawkins had his team better prepared than I did. They showed up. They were the better football team today, and they certainly deserved to win that game.
You surprised someone with your tackling?
We tackled well, and then we just didn't wrap up a couple times. And defensively and on special teams, that one long punt that we were lucky to get the personal foul on, we had that guy, we wrapped that up. That ball's way down the field. So, we've got some young guys running around out there. That's not an excuse, but we've got to do a better job wrapping up, no question.
You did a little less live the last couple weeks of fall camp this year than I seem to recall the last 2 years. Is that maybe
I would say the second to last week, that's true. We never do much, on a game week. We do some, but never much. No, I don't think that had effect. I think we were in good shape. I think we were prepared mentally. I think we had a good idea what was going on, what they're going to do. We just didn't, like I said, you got to run the ball better and you got to convert occasionally on a third down to have any chance.
Steve, is there speed on the outside make it harder to focus on tonight than it was a year ago?
Yeah, definitely. All three of those new guys out there, give them a little juice. As soon as we played off on a third down, they're able to hit a hitch. So that's a much better group of receivers than they had last year. That's an advantage for that quarterback and that run game.
What did you see that makes you say that this will be the best offense?
I love what we're doing at receiver. We're still a long way off, but I love what we're doing, the way we're playing. I do think we have some talent in the backfield. We're still sorting out how to use it and when to use it. I guess a lot of it has to do with Pete Thomas. I had a very, very good vibe on what he was doing. And again, don't get me wrong, it was not error-free by any means, but and I'm confident we'll get it fixed up front. I do think we've got a wealth of talent in the offensive line. It's probably young and it's got a long way to go, but it's there. I'm sure we'll get it at some point this year. All right, thank you very much.
All right, that's Colorado State head coach Steve Fairchild. His team comes up on the short end of a 24-3 decision. And guys, you heard what he said. What did you think of how he said things? There was a certain resignation there that this is very much still a program that is a work in progress. And you almost wanted to hear that word young over and over and over. He kind of held back a couple of times, said that's not an excuse, gave a lot of credit to Dan Hawkins and the way he prepared his team. But you get the sense that he knows he's working with a young team that's got a lot of work to do.
I'll be honest with you, Bill. I think he may have overestimated how his team was going to come out and play today. I mean, based on, spring drills and their preseason camp and whatnot, I think he thought that Thomas could come out and hit some of those passes early on and find some of the deeper routes. But again, I think CU played a perfect defensive game plan. They blanketed the deep routes, forced him to dump off the short passes to the running back, find the tight end, and then they came up and they did tackle much better than CSU.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ted. I mean, just based on, I think he said the right things the right way in the conference. And this CSU team, I think, is built for maybe 2 years down the road at this point, or maybe next year. They've got a lot of young players. We were talking about it a minute ago. It looked like what they're lacking right now is maybe a little bit of a spark on offense. That the young freshman Tony Drake from Dallas came in and had the nice run on the reverse and then made something happen for a nice little 12, 15-yard run there in the fourth quarter, pretty much just, garbage time. But that may be the type of spark that this team needs offensively, because it looks like they just maybe don't have the speed in terms of across the board offensively that we've seen from CSU teams in the past.
But it has to be disappointing that spark is not there on the defensive side. We saw it a year ago in Boulder. They were flying around the field. Elijah Blue Smith made a name for himself just popping guys last year in Boulder. This year, I don't think we saw that same aggressiveness. You alluded to it earlier. That may be the most disappointing thing. You've got 10 starters coming back. You've got Ricky Brewer, Michael Sisson. You've got some hard hitters. You play Ram tough in Fort Collins, and I don't think that we saw the same passion defensively from an experienced team like he wanted to see. That may be the most disappointing thing of all. They're trying to find it on offense. They should have it on defense, don't you think?
Yes, I do. They came out a little bit flat-footed, and I think CU and Coach Hawkins had that offensive unit ready to go. I think Tyler Hansen knew what he had to do. He stayed poised early in the game. He found his receivers, and he let his playmakers make big plays. And I do think that CSU was back on their heels a little bit.
Well, and we talked about it a little bit. You said it earlier. I think CU, when it comes to the CU offense versus the CSU defense, I don't think the effort was lacking from CSU. I just think they got kind of out-athleted today. There was just a little more talent on the CU side of the ball. Their receivers were able to pull away and get open in certain situations. Tyler Hansen had a nice game. Their offensive line played very well. I don't think it's a case of lack of effort. I just think that CU was the better team today.
Well, and Scotty McKnight said it in his conversation with Roger Bailey. They were motivated after what happened last year in Boulder. They did not want to lose to the arch rival 2 years in a row. All right, this is not the only game of the day in the Mountain West Conference. A full slate of game has been on tap for this entire weekend, beginning Thursday night with Utah defeating 15th-ranked Pittsburgh in overtime, 27-24. Elsewhere today, Air Force was in a tight battle through the first half with Northwestern State, a double-directional state college. 52-21, though. Air Force has pulled away in the second half. Wow, what a locker room speech at halftime from Troy Calhoun. Guys, I want you to talk about that in a second. New Mexico, a tough task opening the day today in Oregon. And oh my goodness, the Ducks 59-0. That game still has a long way to go. Other games coming up tonight. You've got TCU and Oregon State playing in Jerry World in Arlington, just down the road from Fort Worth. San Diego State and Nicholls State. Wyoming has Southern Utah and Laramie. They're opening up the new Wildcatter Luxury Suites there. And then later tonight, 12th-ranked Wisconsin makes a trip to the City of Lights to take on UNLV. I still think that's one of the more intriguing matchups of opening weekend. But let's talk about the scores that you just saw. And I got two Falcons sitting next to me. You guys were concerned there at halftime when it was 24-21. You're going, what's going on there? But apparently Troy, maybe General Gould went down there and got their attention, because that's quite a second-half performance.
You think I'm sweating out here? When they told me it was 24-21 right there going into the half, it was pouring off of me. I was in the air conditioning. You know, I'll say this about Troy Calhoun. I mean, as far as, you know, being able to get a point across to his football team at halftime, he is not a holler and a screamer. He knew exactly what they had to do, what they had to emphasize. He's going to go in, he's going to talk to his guys and tell them, hey, you know, you got to execute a little bit better. We got the right plan. Obviously, they came back out and appeared to get things on a roll.
Well, and I think, too, we talked earlier in the week about the debate. Are you better off playing a cupcake? Are you better off playing a tough opponent in your first game? Well, one of the factors I think that plays into that is when you have a coaching change. And Air Force, it didn't get a lot of press lately, but they lost their defensive coordinator. Texas A&M have a new defensive coordinator. You know, a unheard of school comes in and puts up 21 in the first half. Okay, well, you need some time to maybe break things in. He's got a different way of calling a game. There are going to be some things to work out. So it is nice in this case to have sort of a cupcake where you can iron out a few of the kinks in the first half and then get things on track, because next week, guess what? BYU comes to town, and then, oh, by the way, the next week you go to Norman, Oklahoma. So you need to get things ironed out this week before you really start to play some very strong opponents.
Well, you guys are being nice right now at halftime. These guys were really barking up and down the stadium here. But apparently fairly satisfied right now with the big lead on Northwestern State. All right, we're going to take a timeout here on our Dodge Ram post-game live. Colorado defeats Colorado State today 24-3. We've got a little bit more show to go, so stick around. You're watching The Mountain. And welcome back to our Dodge Ram post-game live from Invesco Field. Colorado has defeated Colorado State next week in the Mountain West. Another full slate of games, and perhaps the marquee matchup is the one at the top of your screen. BYU travels to Colorado Springs to take on Air Force. It's going to be a very emotional day at the Academy. There's a lot of great events planned for that, so we're really going to be focused on that contest, and I know BYU and Air Force are going to be focused on that as well. UNLV travels to Utah in a conference game. Tennessee Tech is at TCU. Wyoming, that's a tough test for week 2. They'll be at Texas. San Diego State travels to New Mexico State. We will have Texas Tech and New Mexico right here on the mountain, as well as that UNLV-Utah game. And Colorado State, boy, they had a tough game today against CSU. They've got Colin Kaepernick and the Wolfpack of Nevada, soon to be friends, a brother of the Mountain West Conference. Not this year, though, but that will not be an easy game for Colorado State to bounce back. They've got a lot of work to do in the next 7 days. But as you guys took a look at what's on tap for next week, I know we still have some games left tonight, but looking ahead, and I know, Ted, you and I were talking about that BYU Air Force game. There will be a lot of emotion at Falcon Stadium.
There are some really neat things being planned for the 10-year anniversary of 9/11. I'll hold back on telling what they are right now, but it really is going to be a fine tribute to the men and women, the firefighters, the police officers, the first responders that were there that day. And yeah, it's going to be tough to hold the tears back, to be quite honest with you, but good stuff. And I think, you know, when you talk about the game now, Air Force is wanting to make that jump into the top 3, and to do that, they're going to have to find a way to beat at least 2 of the 3, Utah, TCU, and BYU. And what better way to get started than with a young new quarterback for BYU, second week of the season, down in Colorado Springs.
Well, and as good as Air Force has been since Troy Calhoun and his staff have taken over the reins, you know, haven't beaten BYU, haven't beaten Navy. So I think that's one of those teams that typically Air Force has really had trouble with in the past. Well, this could be the last opportunity they have for quite a while against BYU. So I would look for it to be a very emotional type of day, like you said, but it's a great opportunity for the Falcons, well, and for the Cougars as well, for that matter, but should be a great matchup.
Well, as I mentioned, we'll have 2 games for you next week right here on the mountain with UNLV and Utah and Texas Tech and New Mexico. Well, we still have some business to take care of before we wrap things up here at Invesco Field. Again, Colorado wins it 24-3. We heard from Steve Fairchild just a moment ago at the podium. Also, just a few moments ago, our Marius Payton caught up with CSU assistant coach Dan Hammerschmidt.
Thanks, Bill. Coach, pretty tough day out there for CSU. What happened, if you can wrap it all up in a nutshell?
We didn't run the ball good enough, probably. They obviously didn't have enough explosiveness on offense. Defense, you know, just like Steve was saying, defense played pretty good. Probably pretty good enough to win. We just need to, you know, first downs. We knew we were going to struggle on offense a little bit. Freshman quarterback, freshman center, young guys, but obviously we need to get something going more than that. Probably starts with the run game, but then someone's got to make an explosive. So we got some work to do on offense.
Was there some jitters, some first game jitters out there for him?
I'm sure there were. Well, you know, he was fairly relaxed, you know. I've seen freshman quarterbacks. Last year I was around a freshman kid, and he had a tough game. Matter of fact, his first, you know, Carter Samuel's first start was against CU actually too. So, but, you know, he made a couple of bad reads there, but he seemed to stay fairly calm on the sideline, knew he made it. You know, he's a heady kid. He's going to be a really good player, but he's going to go through some bumps, you know.
Coach, can you take any positives out of a game like this?
No doubt. As a coach and a young team, you got to take positives. I mean, you know, obviously the defense flew around. We saw some receivers make some plays. Pete, you know, for the first game, played the whole game and did some good things. You know, we got to go watch the tape, but you know, obviously this time of the year with a young quarterback, you got to take positives and move on and go win the next week.
All right, Coach, thanks for the time.
Yeah,
thanks
you.
for joining us.
Anytime. Thanks.
All right, Bill, let's send it back up to you.
Thank you, Marius. Dan Hammerschmidt, a long-time Colorado State assistant, and was at Rice for a year, was at Wyoming for a year, and now back home in Fort Collins. You know, this rivalry had a great history for many, many years in the 1950s, and then it was dormant for 25. They resurrected the rivalry, and then in 1998, they put it where everybody feels it belongs, right here in Denver. And ever since the rivalry has been played here, be it at Mile High Stadium or at Invesco Field, the games have been very competitive, typically, very close. For the most part, Colorado does have the edge, winning 6 of the 10 games that they have played here in the Mile High City. All right, you heard from Dan Hammerschmidt. We've heard from the coaches, a few of the players. As we wrap things up, guys, we wait so much. We have so much anticipation for the start of the season. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of excitement and buildup. And now we've got a result. For Colorado, it's a very positive result. For Colorado State, on the other hand, certainly not what they were hoping for, either on the score or in terms of effort. So on Monday, your Steve Fairchild What's at the top of your to-do list?
You cannot focus on this loss as the 10th in 10 in a row. This is one game in 2010. This Ram team is different from last year's Ram team. They've got an opportunity to bounce back against a very good opponent in Nevada Reno. And, you know, they're going to come at them hard. They play good defense there in Nevada. But you just have to kind of learn from your mistakes, put this behind you, and continue to grow. There's a lot of good things, as we said, with Pete Thomas, that they're excited about their offensive line. They do have some guys in that backfield. They're going to have to establish a run game, take a little bit of pressure off of Thomas, and let him just grow.
Bo?
Well, coaches a lot of times talk about the most improvement that you make is from week 1 to 2 during the course of a season. I mean, that's, I guess, commonly referred to as the standard in college football. I think for Colorado State that could very well be true, because with all of the youth that they played, particularly Pete Thomas, you'll see a different quarterback next week. I think you'll see him take a little better care of the football. Certainly on the offensive line, they address that. They're going to have to figure out how to get a little more physical. Didn't look like they were sustaining blocks very well. Didn't look like they were really moving anyone or moving the line of scrimmage. I think CU's defensive line dictated to them. I don't know that Nevada brings quite the talent on the front seven that CU has. So you'll see something a little different there. Bottom line for CSU is whatever it takes, they've got to get a win at this point.
And Raymond Carter, I can see why the coaches are excited about Raymond Carter and his quickness and his speed, but a little bit of mix of John Mosier in there with a little bit of that hard-nosed pounding style of running might have been well served today and certainly will help them down the road.
We'll see if they can get things turned around for next week's game against Nevada. That's going to do it for our Dodge Ram post-game live. Coming up tonight at 10 o'clock, we will have scores and highlights from all around the Mountain West Conference on the Mountain Sports Report, so be sure to join us for that. Once again, Colorado wins the Cinch Jeans Rocky Mountain Showdown presented by Xfinity. Final score defeating Colorado State 24-3. Now for Ted Sundquist, Bo Morgan, Marius Payton, and our entire Mountain crew, I'm Bill Dolman. Thanks for joining us for Live at the Stadium, and we will see you later on the mountain. So long.